summertime. Well, my mama told me, son, you gotta earn some money. If you want it, you gotta go right next Sunday. Well, I didn't go to work. I told the boss who said, he said, can't use the car because you didn't walk a leg. Sometimes I wonder, I'm gonna do. Maybe it's no cure for the summertime blues. Help your son, but you're too young to vote. Sometimes I wonder, I'm gonna do. No cure for the summertime blues.
I prefer the original versions of songs, and not in concert. Because the original versions of songs are the ones that played on the radio. What? Man, I love that version of Summertime Blues that The Who performed back in 1969. Live versions of songs, especially if they're from performances close to when the song was originally released, are often great. It's good variety, I think, from the same old version that played and played for decades. What, you don't like concerts? That's okay. Most likely you think that way because you have a low IQ. And you just can't think outside of the box. A low IQ? I don't have no low IQ. I'll have you know that I drink high C every single day at the McDonald's. High C? The juice drink? Al, what does high C have to do with you not being very intelligent? 'Cause I drink high C every day and every time I go to the movies. So I can't have a low IQ. That reminds me, I gotta leave to see a movie soon, so what time is it? Thanks for proving my point about you. And now, it's Podblast time! After a month of being sick. I'll talk about it in a minute. That's right, it's Podblast time. This is your weird, informative, and hopefully fun time capsule of memories of days gone by as we forge ahead together in the game of life. Remember the Milton Bradley board game of life? I was a Monopoly man myself. But right now we are reminiscing about life. Life. As in real life. Specifically pop culture history and life experiences that we have in common. That's what the nostalgic Podblast is all about. This is the Nostalgia Show with a bite. And welcome. I'm Chance Bartels, your host. No relation to Chance the Rapper. And I've got to say, we've got a good one for you today, as Steve Harvey says at the beginning of Family Feud. Are you feeling a case of the summertime blues? Probably not if you're listening to or watching this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast in the wintertime. But if it's still summer for you now, I wanted to lead our main topic by giving a brief history about the classic rock song Summertime Blues. Summertime Blues was co-written and recorded by rock artist Eddie Cochran, no relation to the friend of the Podblast Danny Cochran, and Summertime Blues was originally recorded way back on Friday, March 28th, 1958 at Gold Star Recording Studios in Hollywood, California. And the tune was released in the United States of America by Liberty Records on Monday, July 21st, 1958. This original version of the song Summertime Blues peaked at number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts on Monday, September 29th, 1958. Here's some information from Wikipedia that I found. Quote, the song is about the struggle between a teenager and his parents, his boss, and his congressman during the summertime. The narrator resents having to take a job in order to earn pocket money, and he cannot go on a date with his girlfriend because his boss keeps scheduling him to work late. After falsely telling the boss he is sick in order to get out of going to work, his parents will not let him use their car due to his laziness. Finally, he considers visiting the United Nations to complain about his situation, and he settles for writing his congressman, who brushes him off since he's too young to vote. End quote. Other bands that recorded cover versions of Summertime Blues include the Swedish rock band Hep Stars, that's spelled H-E-P, Hep Stars, and they recorded the Summertime Blues as a single in late December 1964, which was released in March of 1965. The American rock band Blue Cheer, who recorded their version of Summertime Blues in 1967, released their track in 1968. Not real familiar with that one, are you? I'm not. Now, my favorite version is the one you heard at the top of this edition of the Nostalgic Podblast, performed by British super rock group The Who. And they originally played Summertime Blues as a staple of their concerts back in the mid to late, really the late 1960s, from their early days up until 1976, with intermittent appearances thereafter performing Summertime Blues. It has not been played since the death of bassist John Entwistle in 2002. It was performed during the 1967 U.S. tour by The Who, from which the first known Who recordings of the song were made, including a June 1967 date at the Monterey Pop Festival. The version I played was from 1969. The first version to be released by The Who appeared on the 1970 album Live at Leeds, Leeds, which was released in the United Kingdom on Saturday, May 16th, 1970, after being recorded on Valentine's Day back on Saturday, February 14th, 1970 at Leeds University. The Summertime Blues single from this album peaked at number 38 in the United Kingdom and number 27 in the USA. Quote, I'm a big fan of the Summertime Blues on that album, remarked Rush bassist and lead singer Geddy Lee. Quote from Geddy Lee, which is why we covered it to a large degree because of their version, unquote. This version by The Who differed from the original in both the sense of aggression and volume. As lead singer Roger Daltrey noted, quote, we'd taken the song from being in kind of a swing rhythm on the offbeat to a rock rhythm. The bassist and Weissel would sing the bass parts of the song, but the band struggled to capture the same energy of it in the studio. The live version recorded the lead show managed to capture this fully. The Who recorded at least 2 studio versions of Summertime Blues in 1967, which went unreleased until 1998 and 2009, when both appeared on the remastered compact disc. You remember what that is? Remastered compact disc CD of Odds and Sods, and the deluxe edition titled The Who Sell Out. In 1970, The Who's version of Summertime Blues peaked at number 27 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts in the USA, which I previously mentioned. Another cover was done of Summertime Blues in French by Johnny Hallyday in 1975. On Monday, June 6th, 1994, country western singer Alan Jackson also released a cover version of Summertime Blues as his lead single from his album titled Who I Am. And the song reached number 1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot Country Singles charts. You heard from Geddy Lee a moment ago in a quote that I read very badly. But Canadian rock band Rush released their cover of Summertime Blues as a single on Friday, May 21st, 2004. And it was later included on their cover EP titled Feedback, released on Tuesday, June 29th, 2004. The song was the actual theme for the WWE Wrestling Super Slam event on Sunday, August 15th, 2004. The song was performed live during the band's 30th anniversary tour later that year and was included on the R30, meaning Rush 30, R30, 30th Anniversary World Tour Concert DVD. Now, the main topic today, since we're live and we're in the dog days of summer, is something that will give you ideas and help you cure your summertime boredom doldrums, or summertime blues, if you will. Today, my friends, we will talk about and remember summer movies. Not memorable movies that were released in the summer like summer blockbusters, but movies that take place in the summertime. I've compiled a list of over 70 movies that fit this criteria that are well known, as well as your favorites that you commented on in our Facebook group, The Nostalgic Podblast. I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm only going to go over maybe a dozen tonight because as I was preparing the show, I realized this would be like 12 hours long. So this is a series I'm going to do through the end of September, and I put really kick-butt summer movies that were set in the summertime for tonight's show, but I saved some for future installments because I didn't want to just have the big ones tonight and then just have the ones that aren't so great in future installments. So, and these are multi-generational, as you'll find out in a moment. A lot of you and I are on the same wavelength based on your recommendations. There's some that I put on the list, but there's a couple that I did not have on my list that are excellent movies set in the summer. Now, as we're live, please go ahead and comment with your favorite memorable film that was set during the summer months in the movie plot. And also, you can call in if you like old school at 770-438-1050 with your commentary. That's 770-438-1050. You can call in anytime or simply comment. I'll be monitoring the comments today, and I'll read them as we are live. If you're listening at Fistful of Radio out of Atlanta or Apple or Google Podcast, I won't go down the list, Spotify, TuneIn. I would direct you to the Nostalgic, with a C, Nostalgic, not Nostalgia, the Nostalgic Podblast YouTube channel. Easiest way to find that is just go to Google and Google the Nostalgic Podblast YouTube. And you'll see this very video, this live presentation, which will be titled Summer Movies Set in Summer Part 1. Now, before we start all of that and go through about a dozen movies set in the summer, and then I'll read your comments, I want to begin with this. Happy birthday to Basil Chesterman, otherwise known as Tom Williams, who is a founding member of the Nostalgic Podblast. He joined in episode 3, and he's so super busy with work, which is why you haven't seen him on the show. He does excellent video work. For those that don't know, I'm not going to give away too much of his personal life here, but he is a working director in the business at the Weather Channel, and he's won Emmy Awards. He and his team have over the years, and he does excellent video work. That's not why I'm wishing him happy birthday. I'm wishing him happy birthday because he's a pal and a friend and a fellow film collector and a hell of a nice guy, as we're live here on Friday night, July 28th, 2023. Happy birthday! And by the way, he's moving to be closer to his work at the Weather Channel, so his fabulous Studio East is packed up. And actually, it's been packed up for months as he gets ready to move to be closer to work. So that's why we haven't done a video at the fabulous Studio East. It's not because we were infighting or anything like that. It's literally because it's in storage temporarily. But in his new house, he's going to have it set up before too long. And hopefully we'll get back to the cool, nostalgic videos that he does. And really the talk. I think Tom adds a lot to the show. He's very intelligent, very well read. He knows a lot about the topics that he wants to talk about. So that's going to be great. Happy birthday, Tom Williams. Well, I want to say before we get to the movie set in the summertime, it's been a while since we last Podblasted. And it was not my intention to neglect you or our fun for over a month, but I got sick. Very sick. The last time I did a live edition of the Nostalgic Podblast, I was on the road in Athens, Georgia, way back on Thursday, June 22nd, 2023, with friend of the Podblast, Danny Cochran, Kraken's Lair Comics, Daniel Cochran on YouTube, and his daughter, Savannah, talking about graded comic books where we compared 3 identical 9.6 grade CGC copies of The Incredible Hulk issue number 254 and other fabulous collectible graded comic books from Danny's awesome comic book collection. And we did that on YouTube Live, not on Facebook like we normally do in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group, although I linked it. Didn't do it there. We did it on YouTube Live, which you can find by simply Google searching the Nostalgic Podblast YouTube, and then click the Live tab, and then all the live shows pop up. It won't show up if you just go to the Nostalgic Podblast YouTube channel. You have to actually click Live to see the live installments, and you'll see a thumbnail image of 3 Hulk issue 254 9.6 graded copies. That's the show I'm talking about and referring to. Anyway, I want to get past this this explanation of where I've been. After that live show, I was invited to join Danny Cochran, his wife Carrie with a K, and his daughter Savannah to have dinner at a new Mexican restaurant near their house in Athens, Georgia, called La Montana Mexican Grill. So we go, and we were seated right next to a table full of very southern white folks who were celebrating a woman's 77th birthday. She looked like she was 100. I'm just saying. She didn't look like she was 77. For what it's worth. I'm not being mean. That's just my observation. Now, their table and ours were extremely close together, and 3 of the 9 or so people at their table were coughing. I'm talking hacking coughing. Even a toddler was coughing. And I mean coughing where you can almost feel the congestion. I mean, you can hear the phlegm, and I don't want to be gross here, but you can just hear the snot in their lungs when they cough. Look, have you ever been to a concert or a movie theater and the person right next to you is coughing so badly that you can actually smell it? Well, that's what happened to me that night at that Mexican restaurant. And when somebody coughs and you can smell snot or phlegm, you know you just took a direct hit and you're going to get sick. It's just a matter of time. So that was a Thursday. By the way, the food was really good at that Mexican restaurant. La Fontana Mexican Grill in Athens, Georgia. But the following Sunday morning after that Thursday, my throat felt like it had 3rd-degree sunburn on the interior. And when I coughed, it was like God made me swallow razor blades on top of the pain of the inside of my neck being on fire. I thought for sure it was strep throat. So later that Sunday, I go to my mom and dad's house about 5 miles from my house to play Scrabble with my mama. We play Scrabble once a week. I like those old board games, but we love Scrabble. We're very evenly matched, and we usually have a draw. We play about 2 games, sometimes 3. Anyway, who cares? So when I get to my folks' house, I ask if they have a thermometer. Mom takes my temperature, and it says 104 degrees Fahrenheit. I start feeling way worse, and I tell Mom for her safety I need to go, and I'm in no shape to play Scrabble. Next day, Monday, June 26, 2023, Mom calls to check on me. She wakes me up by phone and begs me to go see my doctor. At that time, I feel absolutely horrible, and my T-shirt that I'm sleeping in when I'm awoken by her phone call is covered in sweat like I fell into a swimming pool and just got out of the pool. I am not pooping you. I'm serious. It was crazy. I had a severe fever. So anyway, I go to Piedmont Healthcare to see my doctor and get an emergency checkup, and I'm certain it's strep throat or the flu. Well, it's a good thing that I listened to Mom's advice, because the results of my examination that Monday on June 26th were pretty alarming. Officially, my temperature was 103.2 degrees. My blood pressure was 131/80. My pulse was 140. My respiration was 18. My oxygen saturation was 95%. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's good or bad. So I asked my new doctor, because my last two doctors retired. I love this doctor. Doc Johnson was his name. And he retired maybe 10 years ago. And then I got another doctor that I liked. And then he retired maybe 3 years ago. And so the last couple times I've gone for a routine physical, I get a nurse practitioner, not my actual new doctor. So I'd never met this guy. So this guy walks in, introduces himself as my doctor, and he looks like he's about 35, maybe 40 years old. And so since he came into the room, I knew this was serious. And so this doctor says to me, if my name was Chance Bartels, I'd want to know that I just tested positive for COVID-19. It was a variant from India. Now, I wasn't sure. I mean, I'm not going to second guess a doctor, but I didn't lose my sense of taste or anything like that. It just felt like strep throat or the flu or both. But I'm going to go with that diagnosis. So, it's a variant from India. And historically, I just don't have good luck with variants, if you know what I'm saying. So my doctor then asked me what medicine I've taken. I told him I've just taken bare aspirin. I thought it was just a fever that would break and strep throat. And he asked, how long ago did you take that aspirin? I said, about 3 hours. And he goes, stop taking aspirin. He leaves the examination room, and shortly thereafter, a nurse enters and gives me a clear plastic cup filled to the brim with a bunch of pills, the size of something you'd take like a Jell-O shot of at a bar. That's how big the plastic clear cup was. And she gives me a 12-ounce bottle of water, and I take all those pills. Long story short, this is get to the nostalgia. I know you're probably thinking, if you haven't tuned out already, but it's important. I just want to explain what happened to me for over a month. Obviously, I was given prescriptions to fight the virus, because it's a freaking virus. I was given a note saying that, this is the weird thing, I can return to work on Friday of that same week. In other words, 5 days later. This was on a Monday when I had my checkup, and they're saying on Friday you can go back to work. And I thought to myself, what about a quarantine period? A quick weird anecdote, by the way, the pharmacist at the CVS drugstore was a clown, a total clown. He had my tablets ready in minutes, but he wanted me to wait or come back in 2 hours to get my cough medicine. And so I asked the pharmacy technician, I said, nice young lady, I said, do you not have the medicine in stock? And the pharmacy tech responded, yes, it's here. He just wants you to wait 2 hours. We need 2 hours to fill his prescription. And they weren't terribly busy or anything. That made zero sense. I think it's because it had an ingredient that was a narcotic. I don't know. But I told her, because I don't live very close to there, and I am burning up, and it's about 100 degrees outside, and I got a fever of almost 104. It was dangerous. Dangerous levels of fever. So I said, look, I don't live close, and, I feel like death on a stick, and she didn't budge. So, like I said, maybe the 2 hour delay was because there was a narcotic ingredient in the medicine. I don't know. So I bought the antivirus pills from that CVS, and I just told her, I said, just give me the printed prescription, and I'll just, get my cough syrup from my local Publix or a Costco. So I went to Publix first, and luckily the Publix pharmacy at Paces Ferry Center in Vinings in Smyrna, Georgia, made me wait 15 minutes. So thank you, Publix pharmacy, and shame on that pharmacist at the CVS in Smyrna, who, by the way, was being chewed out by another customer, an Asian woman, for being, quote-unquote, uncaring. And that was before I realized he was going to make me wait for 2 hours. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. You couldn't help me over here. She goes, don't you understand? I'm sick. She yelled at the poor black pharmacist who did something to upset her. I'm just describing him. He was a person of color. I'm not going to say which color. I guess I did. I didn't mean to say that. But I told everyone I came in contact with at the CVS and the Publix for their safety. I said, look, I've been diagnosed with COVID-19. You might want to keep your distance. You might want to get out the Lysol for after I leave. So we're about to get to nostalgia. I swear, folks, please bear with me. And I was sick for days. Like, after I got that medicine, I stayed home for about 8 days, and then I had to leave to take care of pay some bills and do some things. But I was bedridden, man, and I had no desire to eat or bathe, much less do a Podblast, unfortunately, and that's not like me. I wound up bathing every other day, and thank God for Mom and others bringing me supplies, mainly Mom, and more importantly for insisting that I go to the doctor that Monday, June 26, 2023, or I might be dead right now, because that fever was climbing to dangerous levels. So thanks to my close friends and loved ones who checked in on me during that time. And also, I had a major personal loss in terms of a death in the family in June of 2023, which is private. But on a happier note, this past week, I've been having fun, feeling better, swimming at a private family pool, playing games, and enjoying delicious food with my niece and nephew, who just started their 5th and 6th grades in public school, respectively. And my mom and dad were great hosts for our family time. That was just awesome. So I've not seen a movie at the theater since Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I missed Indiana Jones 5, Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, which actually I have zero interest in because it's over 3 hours. I know it's a good movie. I'll just wait. I know it's in 70 millimeter, which is cool. It was released on film in 70 millimeter, and that is cool. But I don't know, man. After Tenet, Christopher Nolan is kind of hate to say it, a wannabe James Cameron. James Cameron has a right to be arrogant and have a big ego because his artwork, going back to Terminator, all the way up to, I didn't see the second, something went on in the background there. Avatar, I haven't seen Avatar 2 yet, but I liked Titanic, I call it a joke because of the sketch scene. Titanic, I like that. I like most of his movies, but anyway, Christopher Nolan is hit or miss. So I'm going to miss this, even though I like a lot of the actors that are in the movie, and I'm sure it's good, and I'm sure I'm just being an idiot. But I'll see it eventually, but not in the theater, I don't think. But I'm going to get caught up. I want to talk about some summer releases, even though everyone else who does a better show than I do have already talked about these things to death. And radio shows, too, that I like BK on the Air out of Cartersville, Georgia on WBHF, and James Enstall's show, Geek to Me Radio, on a major radio station in St. Louis, Missouri. KTRS, he has a show every Sunday night, and BK shows on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. Just look up BK on the Air. It's a really entertaining 2-hour radio show. A lot of ads in that because it's radio, right? It's terrestrial radio, so you hear a lot of the same commercials, and there's a lot of commercials. It's not like a podcast where there's minimal commercial interruptions. There's a lot of commercials, but the content itself is really good. I really enjoy the program. So it's good to be back. And I haven't seen any movie since Guardians of the Galaxy 3. By the way, I was surprised the Barbie movie kicked Oppenheimer's ass at the box office by $75 million in their opening day weekend matchup. That's pretty huge. And I've heard that Barbie is not tween friendly. It's a PG-13 movie, but it's not 3 hours long. And Oppenheimer, in its defense, is an R-rated movie, as Mark Patterson pointed out in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group. He says, I haven't seen it either, but that's probably why. But $75 million, that's a big difference, whatever the reason, in box office bucks. I wanted to see Elementals, which has been bad-mouthed. I just thought I liked the concept and it looked cute. I don't usually go for those kind of those animated movies that are like Pixar. I love The Incredibles. That goes back 20 years. I mean, that's old. And I like Cars, Lego Movie. I like some of them. And of course, the original Toy Story movies and stuff, but that's really not my bag. But I wanted to see Elementals and talk about the summer releases with you, but I didn't get to do that because I got so sick. And, diseases affect people differently, and I got hit hard. It kicked my little butt. It really did. So luckily, I'm caught up with my Marvel project since I did see Guardians 3 at the Flicks, and I was watching, and I finished Marvel's Secret Invasion on Disney+. But I do plan on seeing all those summer 2023 theatrical movie releases. Mission Impossible, really excited about that. Even though that's a two-parter, so it's another situation like Marvel's Infinity War and Endgame, where you have to wait a year to see part 2. It's basically a giant 4-hour, maybe more like a 5-hour movie cut in half, right? So there's probably a cliffhanger. I don't know if anyone out there has seen it. Let me know or comment. It probably is. I can research it on my own, but I don't want to spoil it for myself. I might wait on Mission Impossible and watch part 1 on Paramount Plus and see the conclusion at the theater in a year or so, whenever they release the second half of that big movie. Also, I've been waiting for every episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds to drop on Paramount Plus so I can binge watch all of them, but I did watch the season 2 premiere, which I enjoyed. It showed the origin of Spock, because if you don't know, that takes place just before Captain Kirk took over from Captain Christopher Pike as the captain of the USS Enterprise 1701 starship. And I really like it, and Captain Kirk's in it, even though it's controversial who was cast. I like this guy, Paul Wesley, better known for acting in The Vampire Diaries about 10 years ago or so, a very successful show on the CW network. Well, he's been cast as Captain Kirk, and I was hoping he'd bulk up because he's kind of thin. He's a great actor, but how can you replace William Shatner? I mean, I finally accepted Chris Pine after I'd seen the first couple movies, and I really liked the first one from 2009 a lot. And he's the son of the actor who played Sergeant Couturier on Chips. I know most people know that, but did you know that's Robert Pine's kid, Chris Pine? Kind of cool, huh? I think that's cool. But I bought him as Captain Kirk, and the others too. Bones McCoy. It's so sad about the actor in the newer Star Trek movies. The guy who played Chekhov, who was killed, not murdered, I'm about to say murdered. He wasn't murdered. It was an accident, and his car crashed into him, and he was crushed to death, and I think that's terrible. He was a great young actor, and I liked him in other movies, too. Anyway, we won't go there, and his name escapes me at the moment, but he was fantastic as Pavel Chekhov. Yeah, what does all this have to do with nostalgia? This whole bloated personal piece and explanation of to where I've been, why I haven't done a Podblast in 5 weeks or so? Nothing. So let's get back to the fun. I just wanted to take time to explain to you, the lovely, loyal, intelligent, nostalgia-loving audience, listeners, and viewers, and my voice is gone, why I have not done a show in over a month. So I apologize to the Fistful of Radio listeners, the YouTube and Facebook Live viewers of the Nostalgic Podblast, the Apple and Google Podcast listeners, the listeners at podcast.co, Podbean, TuneIn, Spotify, et cetera, who are listeners to the Nostalgic Podblast. But there's a lot of past shows that are really long, too long, I might say, that you could listen to. But hell, I'm grateful my numbers on YouTube alone and everywhere else have really gone up a lot. I mean, I'm getting thousands of views on YouTube, which is surprising because my video sucks. I mean, it's just a one-camera operation, sometimes in HD, sometimes not. Where you just see me and a bunch of collectibles. I try to make it interesting, featuring different collectibles in each edition of the Nostalgic Podblast, which I'll do tonight. And I play some music for the listener so that the listener can hopefully be entertained and not bored to death while I'm showing for the camera collectibles. So that's what we got going on. But speaking of podcast platforms, the podcast hosting platform app Stitcher shut down at the end of August 2023. Now, did you know? I didn't know this. XM Radio owns Stitcher, and they shut it down to move content to one of their paid platforms. There's going to be an XM platform for podcasts for subscribers, so they want to use that to boost subscriptions and counter cancellations. And they're having a lot of cancellations right now, and have since the pandemic, when less people were driving on the road, so they let it lapse or they canceled. They're tired of the increases. I like XM, but as a company, they're pretty rotten with some of their practices where they won't let you cancel, and the steep increases. They play games where they try to renew you for a ridiculously inflated rate, and then they will just drop their pants eventually if you push back. And I hate that. Companies like Xfinity, they should have loyal rewards to retain subscribers and loyal clients instead of running them off with steep increases. Oh, it's not us, it's the government. It's the individual stations, it's licensing fees, and that's what XM likes to say. It's the music licensing, and whether or not that's true, I think some of that is BS. I don't know, but there needs to, you see these introductory offers for cable companies who are losing left and right to streaming. This is no secret. I mean, they are bleeding paid customers. Instead of trying to lure new people, why don't you do something for the loyal people? Just a thought. Wouldn't that be a good business model? I guess that's a little mini fake rant of the week from Chance Bartels, your host of the Nostalgic Podblast. But anyway, I always found Stitcher a bit awkward to navigate and try to search for a podcast to listen to in the first place. So, c'est la vie, Stitcher. It doesn't really matter to me that you're gone, but they were huge. It was just shocking when I got an email from Stitcher. At the end of August, we're going to cease operations, but we'll have something with XM, our parent company. So stay tuned. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Item. I want to mention there's a fine YouTube channel for the nostalgia lover that we both are, you and I think you'll enjoy. And right here in the state of Georgia where I am, that's where they operate out of, in Conyers, Georgia. And it's an excellent YouTube channel with great video, mainly about collectible toys and comic books, but they talk about all sorts of things in the nostalgia realm. And they created a YouTube channel they called Open by Chance. And that's not why I found it, because my name's Chance Bartels. That was just a random coincidence. I found them just by searching. And it turned out we'd done business unbeknownst to me. And I think them a year or so ago, they bought a lot of Fantastic Four comic books I had duplicate copies of in the Nostalgic Podblast eBay store. And so anyway, but they're really nice people. And I met them in person last July 2023 at the Atlanta Record and Compact Disc Show. It's actually called the Atlanta Record and CD Show. CD is in compact disc. And they are super nice people with big nostalgic hearts. And we all like pretty much the same thing. What I like about their YouTube channel, especially when they do a live show, which isn't that often, it's pretty regular, but not on a regular basis. It's usually on a Sunday night, where it's just an open forum, but you learn a lot because they're both very knowledgeable, and they usually show things on camera that they got at collector shows, and they go all over the Southeast, especially in Georgia, to various shows. Heck, the day before the Marietta, it was actually Marietta. It's called the Atlanta Record and CD Show, but it was in Marietta, Georgia, by the way, somewhat near the Marietta Diner, if you know that part of the metropolitan area of Atlanta. They had just been the day before to Macon, Georgia, to the Macon Comic Convention. And I love when they go to shows, they film a little, not live, but a video. It doesn't matter that it's live. I'm just describing a nice video piece showing other collectors buying things and showing what's for sale. If it's a comic show, they show like the wall of the really high dollar comic books. And then when they get back to their home base, they show what they got at the convention up close and personal, and talk about why they like it, why they bought it, and talk about some of the dealers and people they met, people like me, fellow fans at these shows. And I just think they're really, really great people. And David E-O-N is his name. I won't say his wife's name because she doesn't usually say her name. And so that might be something she wants to be incognito. I don't know. I should have asked, but I'm going to respect her privacy. But David, he's out there. He puts his name out there. So I'll just say David is very knowledgeable. He has a great voice, unlike me. And on FistFulOfRadio, I'm going to run some of his content because it's excellent stuff. A lot of it is visually oriented, but even just listening, it's interesting. I found them cool because he and his wife, I think for the first time I think they watched them, but didn't watch them all. They're watching Dallas and they're watching Space 1999, I think for the first time for her. And they just got into season 2, the episodes with Maya. Anyway, I'll move on. I know this is boring to a lot of people that don't care about that show. I talk about it way too much, but that's how I really felt a kinship to them, was in their live chat. They're talking about what they're watching. They're watching Gunsmoke and other shows. God, my voice, excuse me, folks. I'm not sick. I was yelling, playing Marco Polo in the pool with my niece and nephew. Like I said earlier, who were going into 5th and 6th grade. My nephew's going into 6th grade, starting middle school. My niece will be ruling the school of 5th grade or elementary school. And so we were playing pool games, and I threw out my voice. I should have waited, but I wanted to go live on Tom Williams' birthday and wish him happy birthday on his actual birthday. But anyway, so Point being, check out Open by Chance if you're into comic books, nostalgia, or toys, vintage toys. And their setup is cool. They should be on Collector's Call on MeTV, which is on Sunday night at 6:30, hosted by Lisa Welchel, best known as Blair Warner in The Facts of Life. She hosts that show. I think they're in their 4th season, and it's a great half-hour show. It comes on at 6:30 on MeTV. I really learn a lot from that show, even though there's some things that I disagree with, but who cares? Well, like, they'll have an appraiser that appraises the value of each item or feature items, not every item, because sometimes collections are so vast of thousands and thousands of items, can't possibly in a half-hour show everything. So they'll cherry pick things to show on the show. And I'm sure there's a big editing process of things that didn't make the cut that they did photograph and talk about. And they'll have an appraiser that tries to do a trade with the owner of the collection. They'll bring in something that they don't have or they don't think that the collector has and try to entice them to trade an item that the appraiser wants that's in their collection. And I like that. But the thing I don't like is that the appraiser will always say, I think at auction you'll get $10,000 for this. And then when they're calculating, they have a little ticker that calculates the value of the collection, ballpark, and it always goes to the highest amount. You know, and that varies depending on the state of the economy. Right now, it's a buyer's market as we're live in August 2023, pretty much. And I've gotten some great buys in this economy. But as a seller, it's just terrible. It's absolutely terrible trying to sell things right now. It's totally a buyer's market for collectibles. So I could use one of these. I'm gonna switch gears and talk about the nostalgic treat of the week in just a sec, but I just to finish up talking about Open by Chance and Open by Chance on YouTube, just Google search Open by Chance on YouTube and you'll see their channels, and they always keep it real, as I do. As I always try to do. They're really good people. But it's finally time for the nostalgia piece of the program. How long did I go? I'll look in a minute. I'm looking at what I wrote. I write my own material. I'm not saying that, pat myself on the back, but I do. I spend hours writing my own material, so I'm looking at that. I can't see comments. If there have been any comments, I promise I'll look at them in just a second. I've got to open that window. I really could use a second computer to do this. I'm using one right now, and it makes it hard. I'm not even looking at the monitor. I'm looking at my script. Not as unscripted, but what I wrote. But the nostalgic treat of the week is a bit offbeat this time. And this goes way back. Like over 143 years ago. I'm talking about something I could use right now. Ludens cough drops. Remember the cherry Ludens cough drops? To me, they were candy. And to most of you, I'm sure you felt the same way I did. I couldn't wait to pop one of those in my mouth, whether I was sick or not. Ludens, but I didn't realize they go back that far. And Ludens cough drops were created by William H. Luden, who started the Ludens brand in 1879. Early products of his included cough drops and candy. I think it was all candy, but Luden gave samples of his cough drops to railroad workers, giving the product national exposure and free, I might add, free national exposure. It's pretty smart marketing. The legacy as the best tasting throat drop continues today because Luden is still available in most pharmacies. I'm going to play a nostalgic commercial from 1975 for Ludens cough drops, and then I have one that's really wild that Frank Zappa did for Ludens cough drops, if you can believe it. And then we're going to finally get to movies set in the summertime. Let me find that ad for you now. What do I do with it? Not now. Oh, here it is. Let's listen to this commercial. Hopefully it'll play.
Do you have a medicated cough drop that doesn't taste like medicine?
Have I got a... You can have great taste, great tasting taste with Ludens. Medicated cough drops with great taste in every box, while very sweet and savory, menthol cool and flavory. Honey, the way you wish with lemon or licorice. You can have great taste, great tasting taste with Ludens. Tastefully done. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That was in mono, unfortunately. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that. But let's listen to This is pretty wild. It's a very visual ad, so I'm just going to play the end, like the last 10, maybe 10 seconds of this commercial. But this was a wild commercial that Frank Zappa did for Ludens cough drops. Yeah. And it's so unusual. And it's very visual, as I said. So I would look on YouTube if you want to check it out. On YouTube, it's titled Zappa's Ludens, LUDEN''S cough drops. So let's listen. And it's a really strange piece of animation and sound. But here's the end of that commercial.
Ludens cough drops. Hate coughs. That's why so many people like Ludens.
Okay, are you high? That was strange. I could use a Ludens cough drop right now. Jeez. But finally, folks, thank you for your patience. Thanks for your patience. We're finally ready for the main topic, summer movies. As I explained earlier, not movies that were in cinema theaters in the summer, but movies that take place in the summertime. And I've got a clip of some music of the one that's one of the best of all time. Are you ready for this? Let's listen. No, that wasn't Jaws. I tricked you. That was Star Trek. That was from 1967, October 1967, The Doomsday Machine. I think that John Williams, when he came up with this score, may have been inspired by that music. Let me play you the real music for Jaws. Come on. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. So that's just an awesome, awesome piece of musical score history right there, of course. I don't want to talk too much about Jaws, just a little bit. And this is not ranked necessarily in the best movie set in the summer of all time, but of course, I know it's number one on a lot of your lists. I know. And it's up there with in my mind as well. But I did mention that music you heard at the very top where I psyched you out and I played Star Trek music. That was by Saul Kaplan, spelled with a K. And that episode aired on October 20th, 1967. It was the 35th Star Trek ever filmed of the 80-hour-long original installments there. So Jaws was released originally on Friday, June 20th, 1975 by Universal Pictures in movie theaters. And, of course, the summer blockbuster movie release was born that weekend back in 1975. All of the Jaws movies were hits, even Jaws 4. We'll talk about that in just a second. I even like Jaws 2. Was not, of course, directed by Steven Spielberg. It was by Jenat Schwartz. And I love the scene where a girl's adrift in a boat and she sees the shark and she's paralyzed in fear and she's like, shark! I just love that. Anyway, I like Jaws 2. I love the way they killed the shark in Jaws 2 better than in the original Jaws. But other than that, of course, Jaws is the classic. It's the best. And what an incredible success story. I mean, the original Jaws cost $9 million to make, yet it made over $476.5 million at the box office. Jaws 2 was released on June 16th, 1978 and made $208 million and cost only $20 million. Jaws 3D, believe it or not, that was a hit. Not to the degree of Jaws and Jaws 2, but it was released on July 22nd, 1983 in 3D, hence the title Jaws 3D, with a price tag to produce of $18 million, but it made $88 million. The final Jaws film, Jaws 4, The Revenge, was released on July 17th, 1987, with a production budget of $23 million, but it earned $51.9 million. All four Jaws movies were successful. Number 2 on the list of movies set in the summer that are memorable and great is Dirty Dancing, which was released on Friday, August 21st, 1987 by Vestron Pictures. I don't remember Vestron Pictures. I remember Vestron Home Video. They put out a lot of videos that I still have on videotape, like Red Fox in a Plain Brown Rapper, which was a 1983 live in Las Vegas concert, and it's filthy funny. If you ever check it out, it's on YouTube. Someone put it out. Oh, man, he's funny. God, and he knows how to handle the hecklers. He didn't have many hecklers. Richard Pryor would get hecklers, and Richard could handle hecklers too. So could Eddie Murphy. But Red Fox, when he would get that rare heckler, man, he would make mincemeat out of them. I love Red Fox. He was so funny. Present from Betty Ford. And he could go to bed damp, wash your ass. He's the first one that said, I'm sorry to be crude. This is a family show, but I'm not going to be too crude, so just trust me. He goes, go to bed damp, wash your ass. And I better not talk about what he says about the snack bar being. I'm not gonna go there. Just watch it. That was my Vestron Video. Let's get back on track with movies released in the summer. Back to the family show fun. I wasn't a fan of Dirty Dancing because I think it was not made for me. I think it's made for young women, and that's okay. But it's a really obviously beloved film that has such a huge part of pop culture lore and history. With Patrick Swayze, that was the movie that really put him on the map. And what a career he had, God rest his soul. Man, he had a lot of movies that did really well at the box office, and they're very memorable. Red Dawn, Roadhouse, all that. But did you know Dirty Dancing cost only $4.5 million to make, but it earned $214 million at the box office. So that's a major success. Number 3 on the list of movies that are set in the summertime is Stand By Me. And that was released on Friday, August 22nd, 1986. It was a huge sleeper hit for Columbia Pictures, earning $52.3 million, but it only cost $8 million to film. Rob Reiner, the meathead himself, directed it. And it was based on a story titled The Body by Stephen King. I saw a dead body when I was a kid. I've talked about it in the Halloween Podblast. I like to tell that story at Halloween time. Just in a nutshell, a poor guy drowned in the state of Maine where my mom's sister, my aunt, Jan and Uncle Elliot owned some property out there on this sprawling pond. As I take a sip of coffee, I hate that when people do that and they drink them into the mic. It's so gross, and I just did it, violated my own rule, but I'm not feeling all that well. I'm hoarse. A horse is a horse, of course. And so it was the 4th of July. A guy got drunk, and he fell in the drink in the pond, and he didn't come up. He couldn't swim, apparently. And they never found the body. And so it got to be Friday the 13th. And, that's when those movies were big. By the way, Friday the 13th, those movies are summer movies because they're at Camp Crystal Lake during the summer. I'll talk about someone who chimed in on that, and that was their pick, Camp Crystal Lake. Chad Portier said that in the comments of the Nostalgic Podblast group. And that's on my list, of course. So they eventually found the body, ironically, on Friday the 14th, and the police asked my aunt and uncle, can we dredge the body? Can we bring the body up on your dock? You'd only dock around. They said, yeah. So I went down there with my camera. I was 13, and this is summertime. I want to take pictures for, to show my friend Danny back home and Jeff Logan and Danny Cochran. And I took pictures of my aunt. She was right. She's like, don't take pictures of that. You're going to be cursed the rest of your life. Don't do that. And so she didn't want me doing that. And I still have one picture somewhere. Now, listen, when they developed them, like some of them didn't get developed where I was up close. And I'm really getting morbid here. The poor guy had been underwater. God rest his soul. Got to remember, this was a life back in the 80s that was lost. So this is sad. But, man, he was all... I'll say for Halloween. I'm getting gross. And so anyway, Stand By Me really struck a chord with me. And it was a huge success. And how about the great soundtrack in that film? I love Stand By Me, that whole cast. And I'll tell the full story about Bobbing Bob, I called him. His real name wasn't Bob, that poor drowning victim, but that's just what I called him, Bobbing Bob. And I drew a comic book based on it and everything. Number 4, got to talk about Dazed and Confused, which was released on Friday, September 24th, 1993 by Gramercy Pictures. Remember that company? Remember that operation? Gramercy Pictures? They're gone. They're gone now here in 2023, but back in 1993, they were around. And then when I watch Dazed and Confused, I am transported to the year 1976 watching that flick. It had a budget of $6.9 million, but it made $8 million. So not a huge profit, but a profit nevertheless. Not much. But it was a small movie, and man, I loved it. I didn't pull a clip from it. I'm going to play some clips in a minute of some of these beloved movies. And again, there's no rhyme or reason to this list. I just wanted to pick about a dozen in the first installment of summer movies. And hopefully I'm giving you ideas of movies to stream or, I was going to say rent. Do we rent movies anymore? No, we don't. I'm still stuck in the past. No, we go to Tubi TV and we go to other streaming services, paid and free streaming services to find these movies. And so hopefully I'll give you some ideas of movies that you forgot about or ones you haven't seen in a while that touched your heart and soul. Help you cure your summertime blues. Next on the list is one that I discovered this year in summer 2023 when I was recovering from COVID. And it's called Lifeguard. And this was a weird movie. It was like Jaws, but without the death and terror. It was actually filmed in 75, and it was delayed by Paramount Pictures until 1976. And Sam Elliott is the star of this movie. Let me put it on camera, and I bought the DVD of it. I think it's from 2004. It's out of print now. 2002. Should have prepared that. 2005 DVD release in the widescreen Paramount collection of DVDs. Let me put this on camera for the viewer. Again, if you're listening at Fistful of Radio, just look up The Nostalgic Podblast. Google search that. You'll see our channel. And look for part 1 of movies set in the summertime. It's not that interesting of a shot, but I want to show you and the viewers what the DVD looks like. This is a very entertaining movie with an incredible cast, actually. And I'm going to play a clip of it in a minute. Lifeguard, released by Paramount Pictures on July 23rd, 1976, had a budget of $900,000, but it made $5.4 million. So it was a hit, but it wasn't no Jaws hit. That's for darn sure. But Sam Elliott was in the cast, Kathleen Quinlan, Parker Stevenson before the Hardy Boys Mysteries television show by Universal. Ann Archer was in it, and she played the high school sweetheart of Sam Elliott's character who comes back for a high school reunion. She just got a divorce. She's got a little son, like a toddler, and they rekindle things. But did you know that Ann Archer is Marjorie Lord's daughter? Marjorie Lord is best known as Danny Thomas's second wife in the Danny Thomas Show, which was retitled Make Room for Daddy for reruns. She played Kathy with a K. So around the time that this movie was made, talking about Ann Archer, she had acted in a really good Little House on the Prairie episode from season 2 of that classic show titled Doctor's Lady, where she's playing a young woman in love with the much older Doc Baker. And it was like a tear-jerking episode, if you like that character, Doc Baker. And she also, of course, many years later was Harrison Ford's wife in the Patriot Games movie. Now, I want to play some clips. The title song was written by the great Paul Williams, and it was arranged and sung by Dale Menton. It's total 1976. It's kind of a cornball song, but it'll help me take a little break. And I want to play this song for you, and I'm going to play a couple clips from this movie. There's some really irreverent stuff, and what surprised me most about this movie is it's rated PG, but there's a lot of nudity and sex in this movie. Even for a PG-13, it's pretty much an R-rated movie, yet it has a PG rating, which I found very surprising. But I'm certainly no prude, but I just thought that was really bizarre. So let me find, what did I do with you, my little friend? Yeah, I want to play the opening music so I can take a break. Let's listen. Hopefully I won't get flagged for this. It's called Time and Tide is the title song. Again, some of you are going to find it corny, but it's a period piece. And this is the Nostalgic Podblast, and we're a time capsule.
And love, oh, there is love.
Paul Williams, of course, wrote It Ain't Easy Being Green. He's just a prolific music writer. I'm glad he's still with us. And he's an actor, of course. He was in Smoking the Bandit. Just look up Paul Williams. And he did a few game shows back in the day, like Match Game and things. I want to play a clip of the trailer to this movie. Let me get it right here. This is for Lifeguard. And then I'll move on to another movie. I have this and another clip. There's some controversial stuff in this movie, I think. There's a 17-year-old young lady who's after the lifeguard, played by Sam Elliott, who's like 31. And she's played by Kathleen Quinlan, who most of you will know from Twilight Zone, the movie with Anthony. She played Anthony's teacher. Anthony, who is the character who originally was played by Bill Mumy in the classic Twilight Zone, It's a Good Life. You know, he wished people into the cornfield, right? And so that's a role I knew her from. But in this, and she was in her 20s, by the way, but there's a controversial piece to this movie. But let's listen to a little bit of the trailer, which is rare in itself, to Lifeguard, released way back on July 23rd, 1976, a summer movie.
Roll on time and tide. Your summer sunlight seems to melt away disguise. Reflects a woman waiting in a young girl's eyes. In a young girl's eyes.
Every girl's summer dream. Lifeguard.
Creepy sounding.
Have you made love with many girls? Hi.
Hi.
Hey, hi. Aren't you a lifeguard down at the beach?
Let me explain. In the beginning, like, he's got a girlfriend. He's a flight attendant, or stewardess, I guess, in 1976 you'd call her. And she just pops in and says, oh, I got to take a shower, whatever. And they start getting it on. And in the shower, he turns the water to cold. And then you just have to see it. And she comes out, and of course, she's fully naked. It shows her rear end and everything. And I'm like, this is a PG movie? Anyway, it's a fun movie. But again, it's got some controversial stuff by today's standards, or really any standards. He even warned, well, I'll go there in a second. Hang on.
Can I buy you a drink?
See what they say about stewardesses?
Yeah, nurses, secretaries, and school teachers.
Nobody's better in bed than I am.
No, that's your problem. Wild man Ricky Carlson.
And Archer.
Living legend.
Yeah, something like that.
I want to make love with you.
Kathleen Quinlan.
Will you stay tonight?
He's like, no, this is dangerous. He goes, you're 17. I can't. And she keeps on him. And then eventually it happens.
You okay?
Yeah, I just swallowed some water.
You're not a kid at the beach anymore.
That's his dad.
Well, I'm doing what I want to do.
Hey man, you're too far out. Come on back.
He's got a friend in the car business selling Porsches, and he tries to get Sam Elliott's character a job. He's like, man, you're going to make so much money. He's like, get off this beat. And he tries that job, and he's just not happy selling those Porsches.
Lifeguard.
You're scared I'll make trouble for you.
What are you trying to do? Kill yourself? Yes. You're not gonna do it on my beach.
How long can you go on being a lifeguard?
That's his friend trying to get him in the Porsche
As long as
business.
they'll have me.
Time and tide.
Song's corny as hell.
Rolling rhythms are the music of my past. Hard times move slowly, but the good times move so fast. The good times move so fast. Roll on time and tide. Your
Every girl's summer dream.
seems to melt
Lifeguard.
away
Jesus.
disguise.
I didn't even know that part was in there. So, yeah, let me get that scene. So, all right. I'm going to move on to another movie. But I think most people haven't heard of this. Hell, I hadn't. But all the acting is really good. There's funny scenes, too, in the beginning. That's why I'm like, I can't believe how much TNA there is in a PG movie. Like, these guys, these teenagers at the beach, they of course take a girl's top off, you know, and then they're watching and laughing. Sam Elliott's character. I've always liked Sam Elliott's voice. I wish I had the pipes he does. Back in, I think, 2006, I'm digressing here, podblasting to another dimension, he voiced some Coors beer ads. And I always liked his voice where he's like, Coors, a banquet beer. Can't do it, but I love it. A banquet beer. And it's him. You know it's him, and it was him. Now I'm going to play a scene with Kathleen Quinlan where she's really putting the hard sell on Sam Elliott's character. He's like, I don't want to get involved with you. You're underage. She's like, I'm almost 18. He's like, and believe me, that's not why I'm playing this, because I don't condone this, but I'm going to play this because it's pretty dramatic. I think I got the audio pulled up. Let's see. Not like you can see it. Remember, Kathleen Quinlan's in her 20s here in real life.
I want to make love with you.
What?
I want to make love with you. I thought about it ever since you bandaged my finger.
You should wait a while. At least till you're 16.
I'm 17.
Got a deadline?
Don't you want to?
So he's trying to do the right thing. He's not a creep. And plus he's getting so much action with girls his own age, women his own age, you know?
Find somebody closer to your own age. Someone you really like.
I really like you.
All right, I'm going to cut this clip and move on to another movie. Anyway, it's funny, like, she just keeps on him and on me. He's like, I can't do this. This is trouble. It's not right to you. And you just see this shot of them going into the shack. He has a little shack, you know, his lifeguard shack. Anyway, and then they start a relationship. But then he gets in a relationship with his old high school sweetheart, and then he's still got the stewardess. And it's an entertaining movie. It's mostly a lighthearted, funny movie, but it has that storyline in it too. So Lifeguard, check it out if you can find it. I think it's on YouTube, but you have to pay. I thought I saw it on YouTube, but I just got the damn DVD. That's why I love old technology. I like having physical copies because, as I've said here on the Nostalgic Podblast many times, streaming's a shell game. And the streaming gods can giveth, but they can also taketh away. As a lot of streaming fans of Friends and The Office found out, when both those highly streamed classic shows exited Netflix and went to Peacock, since NBC owns those programs, and that was at the time their new streaming service. That's just one example. Another example, I was looking to watch the Beverly Hillbillies movie from 1993. I'd never seen it. I'd seen parts of it, and it's a funny, funny movie, by the way. And it was on Disney Plus for the longest time because it's a 20th Century Fox movie, and Disney bought the Fox library. And right when I'm looking for it, it's gone. I'm like, where did it go? Wound up on Tubi, Tubi, for free. And they have commercials, but it's uncensored. And I thought it wasn't all, like there's some parts that fall flat. But for the most part, I thought the Beverly Hillbillies movie still holds up. And it's pretty funny for someone seeing it for the first time in the year 2023. And Dabney Coleman is in that as Mr. Drysdale. And he's reunited with Lily Tomlin, who, of course, worked with him in 9 to 5 about 13 years before that. And Dolly Parton's in it as herself in the end. This is an old movie from 1993, filmed in 92, I guess. So, spoiler alert, sorry. But she's in it playing herself at Jed's birthday bash at the mansion. And I enjoyed it, and I like that cast. And it was funny. I mean, I don't know. Ellie Mae dipping tobacco and spitting out a car door of the door of the limo. I don't know. I thought that was funny. So let's move on to another movie, a classic movie that was set in the summertime that everybody loved, starring the great Bill Murray. No, I'm not talking about Caddyshack. I'm talking about Meatballs. Meatballs was released on June 29th, 1979, with a budget of $1.5 million, but it made $70 million And I want to play just a couple clips of trailers because I love some of the dialogue in that movie, and it's so good, and it holds up to this day. Let me see, my little friend, where are you? Yes, let's listen to a little bit, just a minute, 1 minute of Meatballs.
I'm your head counselor, hoping to make your summer camp experience the best available in this price range.
For one summer, the parents of 300 children...
You must be the short, depressed kid that we ordered. Come on inside, Frankenstein. I'll buy you a cocktail.
...are putting their faith...
These are the camp rules. We'll be in here if you want to check these out a little bit later.
...in one man.
Let the game begin!
There's no way we're going to beat this team.
What are we going to do?
We're going to lose. But we can lose with some self-respect.
It just doesn't matter! It just doesn't matter!
I gotta go!
How's the leg?
Okay.
Yeah, for now. But if you don't win, we cut it off. But the real excitement, of course, is going to come at the end of the summer, during Sexual Awareness Week. We import 200 hookers from around the world, and each camper, armed with only a thermos of coffee and $2,000 cash, tries to visit as many countries as he can.
Oh my God. Take me.
And then the winner, of course, is named King of Sexual Awareness Week.
Bill Murray. Meatballs.
Really?
That was a newer trailer. I'm going to play some of the classic trailer now. Come on, play, you son of a gun. Did you know there's 4 Meatballs movies? 4 of them. And they just made less and less money because you didn't have Bill Murray in any of them except for the first movie, and he was a huge reason why the movie was so good, the original Meatballs. Of course, set in the summer. And that reminds me, this is not on my list, but it should be. Adam's Family Values has a lot of summer scenes where Wednesday is at the summer camp, and they have to do the Thanksgiving type play, with the Indians and the Cowboys and Indians, here we go. Let's just listen to this trailer.
Saturday night. Now watch Bill Murray demolish summer. See, 300 kids from the city escape to the woods for a summer of wholesome fun in the sun.
I'm the program director, Jerry Aldini. Is that a bra you're wearing, or are you expecting an assassination attempt? And I have what doctors call very active glands.
Tripper, is there something seriously wrong?
Meet the head counselor who knows the facts of life, but forgot them.
What's going on here? For this year, each camper will stalk and kill his own bear in our private wildlife preserve. The camp rules. Maury would like you all to take a look at these. Be in here if you want to check these out a little bit later. How's the leg?
Okay.
Yeah, for now. But if you don't win, we cut it off. But more important than the score of this game is to score at the big social at our place tonight.
It's not how you play the game, but how you win that counts.
I'm talking to you with the exceptionally round hair. For the glory of the human race. It just doesn't matter if we win or we lose. It just doesn't matter.
Oh, hell, I just thought of another good summer movie.
The real excitement, of course, is going to come at the end of the summer, during Sexual Awareness Week. We import 200 hookers from around the world, and each camper, armed with only a thermos of coffee and $2,000 cash, tries to visit as many countries as he can. And the winner, of course, is named King of Sexual Awareness Week.
You'll be cheering for Bill Murray this summer in Meatballs.
Thought of another one I need to put on my list. Six Pack with Kenny Rogers. Wasn't that set in the summer? I think it was. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I think it was set in the summertime. That was another good one. Really good summer type movie. I love Six Pack, which is filmed in the Georgia area, which is where the nostalgic Podblast is based out of. And so is Fistful of Radio, based out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. Now here is, I almost went ahead of myself. Still talking Meatballs. There were 4 movies filmed, as I just said, as you probably know. Some of you already knew that. It's not that well known, though. And the sequel, without Bill Murray, Meatballs 2, was released by TriStar Pictures on July 17th, 1984. Did I mention the original release date of the first Meatballs? I think I did, but in case I didn't, June 29th, 1979 was when Meatballs was released by Paramount Pictures. Yes. Cost of $1.5 million. It earned $70 million. I know I mentioned that. But Meatballs 2 was released on July 27th, 84. It earned over $5.4 million. So that's a pretty sharp decline there without Bill Murray. Meatballs 3, Summer Job, bomb, big. Yet there still was a 4th movie made of that franchise, Meatballs. The 3rd movie, Meatballs 3 Summer Job, was released on February 21st, 1987, not in the summertime. And it cost $5.2 million, but it made $2.1 million, so it lost millions of dollars. And it was distributed by, I never heard of this company, The Movie Store. And finally, because no one asked for it, you had Meatballs 4 To the Rescue, starring Corey Feldman. Yeah. And it was distributed by Movie Store Entertainment on March 6th, 1992. Again, not in the summertime. And it tanked badly. And speaking of bad timing, why did Disney release the 2023 Haunted Mansion movie at the end of July 2023 instead of, say, October 1st? There must be a strategy there. I would say the home video market, but there really isn't much of a home video market anymore. Not with where Disney's concerned. Disney stopped releasing the Marvel, or rather they're not going to release the Marvel streaming shows on 4K or Blu-ray. At least that was the case a few months ago. I don't know if they've changed course on that. But I guess maybe on-demand market or the streaming market, which would hit in October. You know, after it's had a theatrical run, you know, usually they would wait these days, hell, if a movie doesn't perform well, it's streaming like a month after it's been released in the theater. So I guess they're thinking it might do well in the theater, and they're just trying to time it where it'll be available for streaming and on demand and purchase for home use, whether that just means subscribing to Disney Plus or maintaining your subscription to Disney Plus instead of having a premium for it. Maybe that's their thinking at the corporate level. I don't know. But I just thought it was weird that they released a movie that's pretty much a Halloween movie at the end of July 2023 and into early August 2023 instead of around October 1st. Anyway, but back on track. Here's number 7 on the initial list of movies that were set in the summertime, and it's a coming-of-age movie called Little Darlings, which was released way back on March 21st, 1980 by Paramount Pictures. That movie's beloved by, I know my sister liked it and her friends. It was a girl movie, but I watched it on HBO because that was right when I was starting to notice how cool girls are, and I was like about to hit puberty and whatnot. And they had really cute actors in there like Christy McNichol and Tatum O'Neal. Again, I was their age. Actually, they were older than me at the time. So again, remember that I was, that age then. I wouldn't watch it today. It would be inappropriate. So I just want to clarify that. Matt Dillon was in the cast. And it was partially shot in Georgia as well. Little Darlings. Let's listen to a little bit of the trailer. And Tatum O'Neal, she'd already won an Oscar, of course, for Paper Moon. I think that gets mentioned by the announcer of this trailer with her dad, Ryan O'Neal. And her mother was an actress who was in a lot of classic shows like Alfred Hitchcock Hour and The Fugitive, Joanna Moore, who had a really nice Southern accent, but reportedly she had a heavy drinking problem. And Tatum O'Neal, of course, has had substance abuse issues. And, maybe that contributed to her breakup with John McEnroe, the hothead tennis hotshot of the early 80s. I don't know. That's personal stuff. That's tabloid garbage. I don't know why I even went there. But I just have kind of a soft spot for Tatum O'Neal, knowing what I've read about her mom and stuff. And, just she had kind of a tough upbringing. But she did win an Oscar. I think she beat Patty Duke's record in terms of being the youngest person to win an Oscar, because Patty Duke won for The Miracle Worker in 1962 or 3. The movie was out in 62. The ceremony was in 63, and then Tatum O'Neal won for Paper Moon, right? So let's listen to a little bit of the trailer to Little Darlings, one of the summer movies set in the summer.
O'Neal, the kid from Paper Moon and Bad News Bears, is now more adorable than ever.
Look, I don't like sharing the space with you either. You keep out of my way, and I'll keep out of yours. Deal?
Isn't she a little darling? And Christy McNichol, everybody's favorite daughter from TV's Family. She's sweeter than ever.
Slide me something nice.
Oh, isn't she a little darling? Tatum and Christy, together for the first time, in the true spirit of hot-blooded American competition. Nobody can stop these girls, so if you can't beat them, join them. Little Darlings.
You're entering a new era. This summer, do something special, something you've never done before.
Angel versus Ferris. Whoever catches a guy first wins.
You just lost $100, sucker.
Now the game is on, and every male is up for grabs.
What's your name, anyway?
It's Randy.
Matt Dillon.
Don't let the name fool you.
Wow! He is great. It's great. You'll have to do.
Okay, make it look good.
Oh, this is so romantic.
Christy McNichol, she unfortunately had a nervous breakdown and had a lot of issues. And, she had a few movies like Pirates, Penzance, and other movies. But she mostly was a TV actor, as you heard from Family. That was the breakout role for her as a little girl. But, it's sad because, the side of her face was kind of not the same. But getting back to more pleasant things, in the cast, you had Cynthia Nixon, who played Sunshine. I didn't mention that yet. And then Krista with a K, Erickson. She was in it, and she, around this time, was cast in a spinoff, which was a backdoor pilot of Different Strokes called Hello, Larry, with McLean Stevenson. And she replaced the original actor who played one of his daughters, starting in season 2 of Hello, Larry, that Erickson did. And I'm trying to think who she replaced. She replaced, let me look it up, because while I'm live, I want to make sure I get this in, because I don't edit, since this is a live show after the fact. That's just me. I mean, that didn't mean anything. Let me think about it. Hello, Larry. What was the girl's name? I got to research why she was replaced. And also in Hello, Larry was Paris Hilton's aunt. I'm talking about Kim Richards. She played Ruthie with the long blonde hair. Donna Wilkes, that's it. Donna Wilkes played Diane Alder, one of Larry's 2 daughters, his character, played by McLean Stevenson. I'm digressing. Let me get back to the topic at hand, movies set in the summertime. But about Hello, Larry, last thing I'll say, it lasted 2 seasons, and Joanna Gleason was in the cast. You wouldn't know by her name. She is the daughter of Monty Hall, the classic game show host from, of course, the original Let's Make a Deal and a whole bunch of other shows, like one of the versions of Beat the Clock that I liked from 1979 that hasn't been seen on Buzzer in quite some time. But getting back to Little Darlings, and then move on to another movie set in the summertime. Let me play a little bit more of this little trailer. It's kind of a goofy trailer. I don't know how audio friendly it is. There's a lot of visual things, like people getting thrown in a swimming pool. That's seen.
That was nice.
Yeah, I've been around a little.
Cavalier.
I need to look up Matt Dillon. This might have been one of his big roles, and then he did a movie I really liked, My Bodyguard, around this time, with Adam Baldwin, and he played a bully. And this was before The Outsiders, which also was a summer movie on my list, but I'm not going to talk about it in depth today. But let me just, I'm going to play this. I'm going to look up something on Matt Dillon. This was one of his big roles early on.
You know Romeo and Juliet. Didn't you love it? It was so romantic.
Sure is a hot night tonight.
This
This is better than books. I gotta tell you, this is great.
There's something in that. Really beautiful.
Hey, what are they gonna do about protection? Protection?
Tatum O'Neal,
I love you, Mr. Bassett.
Christy McNichol,
I'm not a woman, Randy.
in the motion picture that suddenly grows up into something very special. Little Darlings.
And Matt Dillon also was in another movie I saw with my pal Jeff Logan and his folks when it was new. I didn't like it much, The Flamingo Kid. That's a good summer movie set in the summer where he's like a cabana boy. I didn't find that movie terribly funny. I remember at the time his folks did, and that's fine. I haven't seen it since it was in the theater, so maybe I'd like it as an adult. I don't know. Yeah, looking at his list, Over the Edge is his first credit, right under Little Darlings, where he played Randy. But he was a character named Richie in Over the Edge, whatever that is. And then My Bodyguard. Yeah, I'm right. I love it when my knowledge is actually correct. Anyway. I did have some other quick notes about Little Darlings, and we'll talk about another movie. Yeah, Matt Dillon. He's a hell of an actor, ain't he? Isn't he? Oh my goodness. I've already finished what I had prepared about Little Darlings. Yeah, March 21st, 1980 release, $5.3 million budget, made over $34 million. Let's talk about another major movie, big hit, huge in pop culture history and lore, and a funny movie, a great franchise. I think you know what I'm talking about. This one.
This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation. See the real America.
Hey, underpants. Hey, yellow.
It's friendly.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Don't you want to look at the Grand Canyon?
It's educational.
Great.
And most of all, it's fun.
The dog went on the picnic basket.
Like Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Imogene Coca, Randy Quaid, John Candy, and Christy Brinkley.
Well, are you gonna go for it?
This is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Take you for a ride. This summer, when you think vacation, think National Lampoon's Vacation.
Better check under the hood.
There's some really good documentaries that were made recently, relatively recently, that were on the A&E network. I think it was released in 2018, so not that recently, but great interviews with the original cast. And they really traveled around the country, the production company. There's so much good documentary pieces about National Lampoon's Vacation, which was released by Warner Brothers on July 29th, 1983, over 40 years ago. As Reliable, it is literally the 40th anniversary of that film. It cost $15 million, but it made $61.4 million. Of course, Harold Ramis directed it from SCTV and Ghostbusters, another good summer movie, Ghostbusters. And I like Dana Barron, the original Audrey. She was my favorite, and she was replaced, as was Michael Anthony Hall, for European Vacation, which cost $17 million to make, yet it made $49.3 million. And Dana Hill took over the role from Dana Barron as Audrey, and the reason is Michael Anthony Hall couldn't do Weird Science or the sequel to Vacation, so he chose Weird Science, and it was all John Hughes' project, so it was all good with him, and that's why it was a running joke to have different actors playing the kids. Christmas Vacation, which is, in this household, I watch it every single year. Christmas Vacation was released way back on December 1st, 1989, with the cost of $25 million, but it made $73.3 million. And who played Rusty? A future star of The Big Bang Theory. And for some reason, he doesn't like to talk about Christmas Vacation. Anyway. And then Vegas Vacation, a fourth film, was released on Valentine's Day, 1997. It cost $25 million to produce, but it made $36.4 million. And that's a profit. It probably would have done better, but it was up against the Star Wars Special Edition theatrical releases or re-releases with new scenes added in early 1997, and those were tremendously successful for 20th Century Fox, the Star Wars Special Edition. So timing is everything. So I think Vegas Vacation had a lot of funny moments, and then you had Cousin Eddie and those nasty buffet scenes. I mean, it wasn't a terrible movie. It wasn't the best vacation movie, but I liked it. And then did you know that the original Audrey actress Dana Barron returned in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure, which was a terrible TV movie. And she was one of the only cast members that came back, along with Randy Quaid, obviously, as Cousin Eddie, and the actress who played his wife. And that aired on NBC way back on Saturday, December 20th, 2003, 20 years ago. And the only thing I saw Dana Barron in, aside from the vacation, or two vacation movies, was in Beverly Hills 90210. She had a good part as Brandon's girlfriend. She was she was in several episodes, I think of season 2 or 3 or 2 and 3 of Beverly Hills 90210. And she always had a youthful look. She always looked a lot younger than her age. So anyway, kudos to Dana Barron. I'm going to play a little audio clip of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure, just so you can hear how awful this is. It's very brief. Let me see where I thought I had that clip pulled for you folks, for you guys and gals. Where the heck are you, my little friend? Here it is. And then we're going to move on to another big movie that was set in the summertime. Check this out. Let me get it.
He works in nuclear research.
There we go.
What's your dad do? He works in nuclear research.
It's not Roy we're letting go, Eddie. It's you.
Well, why don't you fire him? I mean, what has he got that I ain't got?
His brainwaves register more distinctly than yours.
Which one's mine?
The one labeled Eddie.
I was wondering if you could kind of reconsider letting Roy go and keeping me on. He ain't that smart.
He just pretends to read. Oh dear.
Oh, I get it.
What about a possible lawsuit? This guy's got one hell of a case. He's not too bright. I'll think something.
All expense paid Christmas vacation on an island in the South Pacific.
Oh, see, Uncle Nick. Roy bit me on the ass and I lost the job. We're all taking off on a all-expense-paid Christmas vacation.
You lost another job? Roy bit you on the ass.
Hello, Mickey, Mr. Johnson. I work for the Atomic Testing Agency here in Molucca. You're a guest.
Third? And this here's Uncle Nick.
Ed Asner.
Nick Jugson. That's your son.
Uncle Nick, will you please take your hand off my breast?
You all right?
So bad. I guess Ed Asner needed to check. I got to cut that clip. A lot of it's visual anyway. I hadn't watched that. I was looking for the original TV spot for that TV movie. Couldn't find it. Anyway, let's move on beyond those 5 vacation properties and talk about another big summer release. Where are you, my little friend? Yes. I'm going to just play the trailer. This was directed by Richard Donner, and it was written by the great Steven Spielberg. Of course, we're talking about
Andy.
The Goonies.
Steven Spielberg presents The Goonies, a Richard Donner film.
I just said that.
Hey, my food's back! Whoa, do you guys realize what we could do? I don't want to go on any more of your crazy Goonie adventures.
Meet Mikey,
I gotta go to the bathroom.
Brand, Andy,
Shame, shame. Slip with the tongue. That's
Mouth.
Now get out from behind there. You're ruining the painting. You're ruining my joke.
Stephanie. Data.
Boy, Bangers! Ow! Guys, isn't that neat?
And Chunk.
Locked.
They call themselves the Goonies. They've stumbled onto a legend, but they're not alone.
Chunk, I hope that was your stomach.
No. That's the it. Sounds like Kong.
Discover what they uncover.
Rubies and emeralds and diamonds.
The lost map.
Oh, this started the tunnel.
The secret caves.
Hey, Mikey! You can hear me! Run! Run! They're coming after you!
The hidden clues.
Mikey!
The treacherous traps.
Hello, Sheriff. I'm at the Lighthouse Lounge, and I want to report a murder.
Just like that last prank about all those little creatures that multiply when you throw water on them.
Take the oath. Join the adventure as Steven Spielberg presents The Goonies, a Richard Donner film.
Of course, we lost Richard Donner a few years ago. He was a very underrated director. The Goonies was just such a tremendous success. And how perfect was Jeff Cohen as Chunk? I thought he was hilarious in that movie. And back when that movie was actually being promoted in 1985, he was in the game show hosted by Tom Kennedy, Body Language, a couple of times during Kid Week, or Teen Month and Teen Week, where they'd have celebrity teenagers play or try to help regular teenage aged kids earn money for their college education and whatnot. Anyway, Jeff Cohen was just perfect. So for the older people out there, don't think I've neglected you, because number 10 on my list is Beach Party, which was really a groundbreaking, trend-setting movie. Beach Party was released on August 7th, 1963 by American International Pictures, or AIP. And this was the first of 7 Beach Party films from American International Pictures, which were aimed at a teen audience. This film is often credited with creating the beach party film genre. And this first movie from 1963, released in 63, cost $250,000 to make, but it made $2.3 million. And, Troy Donahue was in a lot of these movies. You had Dorothy Malone, Frankie Avalon, Annette Funicello, and a whole host of other younger actors. Maury Amsterdam, you had some comedic actors. I mean, they were pretty corny movies, but very notable. And I want to play a little bit of the original trailer because there's some cool music and songs. I'm going to talk about the songs in Beach Party in just a second. But that was a very notable series of movies based in the summertime. Let me get that clip for you real quick. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. 1963, Beach Party. And of course, my machine quit working. It's not functioning, and my voice is going. Hang on a second, folks. Bear with me. There it is.
Nothing is greater than the sand serpents out there. Yeah, we're surfing all day and we're swinging all night. Vacation is here. Beach party tonight.
Beach Party, for the most uproariously uninhibited unveiling of today's pagan rites.
The Samoan puberty dance all over again.
The observing professor is Bob Cummings. Dorothy Malone is the professor's assistant, who can teach a few things herself.
After you write this book on sex,
Yeah?
read it.
Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello. Two youngsters in love you'll love.
You know, the only thing I've studied this semester is you.
Well, I hope you don't flunk.
Ava 6, a prime asset at any party. Harvey Lembeck, a motorcycle matador. Maury Amsterdam, host to Hot Doggers and Beach Bunnies.
Why not?
Keep on moving and a grooving, don't stop now. Don't stop now.
Promise me anything but give me love.
Secret Service spot where only I know. The Grammys and the Hooters never go. Surfing, swinging, and surfing. Yeah, just surfing.
Treat him nicely. That's what you should do.
Vacation is here. Beach party tonight.
What do we hold, sinners?
Girl!
There's an irresistible surge of that urge to romantically merge.
Kind of risque.
Ah, it's wild and wonderful when 10,000 kids beat on 5,000 beach blankets.
Hey, wall-to-wall girls.
Laughing, loving, living it up.
Vacation is here. Beach party tonight.
So those songs you heard, Beach Party Tonight, performed by Frankie Avalon and Annette. And then you had Secret Surfin' Spot by Dick Dale, Swingin' and Surfin' by Dick Dale, Don't Stop Now by Frankie Avalon, Treat Him Nicely by Annette, and then Promise Me Anything But Give Me Love by Annette Funicello. And these movies, like you had a whole series of beach party movies and sequels, many featuring the same cast and much of the same crew. They were involved in the AIP films that followed. Sometimes character names were changed, like in Pajama Party, Ski Party, and Sergeant Deadhead, and not all were beach-based. Ski Party was set in the mountains, Ghost in the invisible bikini in a haunted house. But the basic elements and tone remained the same. So you had Beach Party in 1963, Muscle Beach Party in 1964, Bikini Beach in 1964, Pajama Party in 1964, Beach Blanket Bingo in 1965, Ski Party in 1965, How to Stuff a Wild Bikini in 1965. That's a weird title. Sergeant Deadhead in 65 that we just talked about, or I talked about. Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine in 1965, The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini in 1966, Fireball 500 in 1966, and finally Thunder Alley in 1967. Frankie Avalon appeared in every film except The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini and Thunder Alley. Annette Funicello appeared in every film except Sergeant Deadhead and Ghost in the Invisible Bikini. In 1987, Avalon and Funicello starred in the sequel parody film titled Back to the Beach. At one point, there was talk of a beach party TV series back in the day, but this never came about. And also, I remember, this is on my list, we'll talk about in a future Podblast. I'll see how the numbers go with this if I want to continue with this basic topic of movies set in the summertime. But you had Gidget, the movie, which led to Gidget, the television show starring Sally Field, which lasted for one season. I believe there were only 30 episodes that were filmed of that show. So this was a huge genre that was started by Beach Party in 1963. And Hollywood's like that. There's trends. Like in the late 1970s, Star Wars was a big hit. So you had all these space movies being released and copycats. Star Crash, which was a terrible movie. You had on the small screen Battlestar Galactica. I know this has been talked to death by others, including myself. I have talked about it as well. But and how James Bond, at the end of The Spy Who Loved Me, released in 1977, it said James Bond will return in For Your Eyes Only, but actually Moonraker was rushed into production. But of course, the book Moonraker had been around since, I think, 1960. I want to say 1962. I'll check myself on that. But it was around since the 60s. So it was an old story, which, of course, they adapted to a 1979 audience. Let me look that up. Do a little Google research as we're live here. Moonraker let's see here, was published. I type so loudly. Oh my gosh, earlier than I thought. Ian Fleming wrote it, and it was published April 5th, 1955. I'm glad I looked that up, because I'm sure a lot of you are saying, no, it was the 50s, you dummy, not 1962. Isn't that interesting? So the Moonraker novel was the third novel in the James Bond series by British author Ian Fleming to feature his fictional British Secret Service agent James Bond. It was published by Jonathan Cape, April 5th, 1955, and featured a cover design conceived by Ian Fleming. Okay, there you have it. So there's the accurate information. You know, I make a lot of mistakes, and I'll always make corrections when I do. I want this to be an educational program that you can trust for accurate information. That's my goal. And mainly to have a fun program where we remember the good times, past and hopefully present as well. So let's move on to number 11. And this is one that I picked. No one mentioned this, and I talked to several friends about movies set in the summertime that are memorable. This is a very memorable movie, On Golden Pond. And that was released on December 4th, 1981 by Universal Pictures. And whenever it was on HBO in the early 1980s, starting in 1982, 83, 84, I dropped everything to watch it. It cost $15 million, but it made a whopping $119.3 million. And it had like a really funny catchphrase, suck face, in that movie. There was a child actor, Doug McKeon, who's still alive, and he coined that phrase in the script and in the movie. And On Golden Pond had a lot of heart in it. And, of course, Katharine Hepburn was in it. She had excellent chemistry with Henry Fonda and Jane Fonda, Henry's, of course, real daughter, Dabney Coleman. It was just a really nice film and very touching. I haven't seen it in years and years and years. And no matter what you think about some cast members, put that aside and give this movie another look. I really related to it because I was a little bit younger than the suck face character, but that was certainly a character I did relate to on some level. So let's play. I'm going to play for you now the trailer to On Golden Pond, and then got some more information for you. Am I not picking some pretty good movies set during the summertime? I wanted to have some that you hadn't heard of, like Lifeguard, and some that you had that maybe you forgot about. And these are good movies to rediscover for me, for you, for everybody, especially during the dog days of summer that we're in now. After July 4th, I mean, things kind of get boring in the summertime, depending on what you've scheduled. Maybe you've scheduled some trips all throughout the summer, which is awesome, and that's smart to do so. But if you're bored, like me, I get bored a lot. It's great to have movies, especially with, as we're live, there's a writer's strike and an actor's strike going on. But heck, I mean, there's still so much in the streaming universe. I have Paramount Plus and all the major streaming services, so there's so much I have not seen that's new, as well as the classic stuff. So, you know, I hope that gets resolved for all parties concerned during that strike. But I've got so much in my archives. I have so much stuff. You're like, big deal. But I'm giving you advice here. I'm saying to you, Tubi TV, there's a lot of great free streaming sites, Freevee, thanks to Amazon, that are absolutely free. And I mean, Tubi has limited commercial interruptions, and they're uncensored, which is also nice. They're not mandated by the FCC, unlike broadcast television and radio. So it's all uncensored with limited commercial interruptions. So let's listen to a little bit of On Golden Pond. And I really love my 16mm film collection. Yes, that's antiquated technology for sure, but there's stuff I have on film that's never been released in any other format and certainly isn't streaming anywhere. And I just love film. I got a 65mm lens that makes the image better. It's actually higher resolution quality, way higher than 1080p progressive HD. Not quite as nice as 4K, but actually between you and me, I wouldn't want anything better than 4K. They have 8K. It just looks too much like videotape. It gets a little too perfect. I want things to look like film. I want to separate the look of film from videotape. Videotape to me looks like a cheap soap opera. Nothing against soap operas. But, you know, it looks like something that was made on the cheap. Film looks regal, always has. And I love some of the imperfections of film. And thank goodness I have like The Empire Strikes Back on film, because Lucas made all those changes. I called into BK on the air last week, and I mentioned how I just treasure that Empire Strikes Back, and he said he had the original on DVD. I was unaware. I'm not doubting his word. I learned something. That's why I listened to his show and James Enstall, and there's another cat, Pat McCormack, Golden Rage of TV. He focuses on TV. Barry King of BK on the Air, the host, introduced me to these, or told me about these hosts and their programs, and I just love to network, and so I'm grateful to him introducing me to these fine programs, and hopefully I'm introducing him. Like the RetroZest show is one I discovered. Actually, the RetroZest podcast, go to retrozest.com, and the host, Curtis, he interviews all sorts of fascinating people, both in front of and behind the camera, names you know. And also he actually makes t-shirts, nostalgic t-shirts, very creative stuff, merchandising, coffee mugs. Check out, you'll be glad you did. And you may have seen on social media, he's got over 30,000, I think 33,000 followers in his Facebook page, RetroZest. Look up RetroZest. He's really good about celebrating birthdays of famous folks and folks that are pretty prominent in pop culture land, and musicians. He focuses on when certain albums were released, birthdays of musicians, actors, when, like I said, record albums. I think he focuses on 3. I've met with him in person many times, and he talked about how he based, I don't know if I should say this. He may not want me to say this on the air, so I'll just tell you this is not a secret because you can see it. He focuses on television, movies, and music that are nostalgic, and he does a great, great job. And he and Barry focus on the anniversaries of memorable films. So anyway, and then Golden Rage of TV, Pat McCormack, he focuses on television. So it's funny how, and not funny, I mean, interesting is a better word. That's where I'm headed with this, how people specialize in different things. I'm more of a generalist, but I do skew towards television and film as well as music, because I am a geek, but hell, the geek will inherit the earth. Or have you not paid attention to what Bill Gates and Elon Musk are doing? Two prominent nerds. I'm not saying I'm on their level, but you know, when I was a youngster, geeks and nerds were shunned and made fun of, but dude, that's not the case anymore. We're taking over. So anyway, I'm just kidding. I want to mention now some of the contributions of members of the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group and people watching live now. I want to talk about some comments that have come in. You've heard what I thought were the first batch of 11 movies set during the summertime. Like I said, I came up with 70. And as I was doing show prep, I'm like, this will be a 12-hour show. I'm going to have to break this up. I wanted to do it all in one show. But I saved some real good ones like Caddyshack and others for the next edition of the Nostalgic Podblast. But let's read some of your comments. James Enstall, I was just talking about. He's the host of a weekly 1-hour radio show on a big radio station, KTRS in St. Louis, Missouri. His show's called Geek to Me Radio. Comes on the air Sunday nights from 10 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific Time, and at 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time, his local time. And it's also on YouTube Live most times and Facebook Live most shows. He chose Die Hard 3. I thought that was a good pick of a movie that was set in the summertime. Doesn't matter when it was released. Austin McFarlane said Caddyshack, without a doubt. And I agree wholeheartedly, and it was on my list before I saw his comment come in. This was funny. A gentleman named Adrian Armentano. I hope I pronounced your last name right, brother. He's such a nice contributor. He always leaves so many nice remarks and comments in the Facebook group. He said the Star Trek films. I think it might be due to a language barrier. I think he's in Argentina, I believe. But I think he thought I was talking about what's your favorite summer release, like in terms of a blockbuster. Hey, man, I love the Star Trek movies as well. But let me just read what he actually said. He said Star Trek 1 through 6. Yeah, specifically. And I agree. Those are with the original characters in the original cast. I'm with you, man. I kind of checked out after Star Trek VI, which was a pretty damn good movie, also directed by Nicholas Meyer, who had directed Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. But Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country, had Amon in it. And that was David Bowie's former wife. And she was a model, and she played a shapeshifter in that movie. And there's a great scene, I'm diverting here, or digressing, I should say, where Captain Kirk fights himself when Amon transforms into Captain James T. Kirk. And there's a funny scene also where her character, Amon, who is an alien, obviously, gives him this weed to, like, ease his pain, and he smokes it, and Shatner, he looks right in the camera. It looks like he took a hit of weed or something. It's just a funny little bit. Little things like that make me laugh, especially in that film. Like, there's a funny scene. It's not supposed to be funny, but there was a humorous scene in a trial. The Klingons have Kirk, Spock, and McCoy on trial, and they're like, "How's your health?" And like McCoy's like, "Well, except for a little bit about the ride, it's pretty good." And you see like a shot of like the extras of Klingon. You hear this voice go, I don't know. It just tickled me. It wasn't laugh out loud hilarious. You had to see it. It's just a funny little thing in that movie. I think it's underrated. And I've said this in a previous Podblast. Kim Cattrall was in it as a Romulan, or I think she was half. She might know she's full on Romulan, I believe. And then Spock does his mind meld with her. And Kim Cattrall, you may remember from Porky's. She had played the woman who howls when she's having an O. Let's just say his family show. And so she did some of her talents moaning and screaming during that scene. I mean, it was disturbing because it's like Spock's pulling her mind apart to get information, and it turns out she's a spy. She's actually a bad guy who's trying to help assassinate the president. Anyway, on Earth. But I shouldn't even say that word because as we're live, I'm on YouTube and things, and the bots, and on Facebook Live, they transcribe as I'm live for closed captioning what I'm saying, and I'm sure there's words that like are red flags, and I probably just said one of them. I meant it in a movie. It's a movie. I didn't mean the real thing. But getting back to the comments, let's see. James Black said, "My answer is Lawrence of Arabia because it's always summer in the North African desert." This is true. I already talked about Chad Poitier's comment. He had a good one. His comment simply was Camp Crystal Lake, a.k.a. Friday the 13th. I'm adding that. And I say right on to you, sir, and that's on my list. Like I said, I had over 70 movies, and I would have gone like damn 12 hours. I got to see how long I've gone already. I was trying to keep this to a 2-hour show, 3 hours at the most tonight. I'm going to cover the ones I didn't mention in the future. I've probably said that 8 times now. Why am I being so repetitive? Thrash Pondo Ponds, who also has a show I haven't mentioned yet. I'm going to mention at the end a lot of shows I want to recommend to you if you're a nostalgia fan like I am. He does a live show Sunday nights around 7:30 and Monday nights. Most Monday nights, but always on Sunday pretty much, unless he has something going on. Look up on YouTube, Thrash Pondo Ponds. I'm going to spell that out. Thrash Pondo is one word, THRASHPONDO. And the next word, PONS, Thrash Pondo Ponds. He said One Crazy Summer. I'm not familiar with that movie. And some people are like, "You never heard of One Crazy Summer? What's the matter with you?" But I haven't. I'm going to look it up. Maybe I have, and I just don't recognize the title. That's what Thrash Pondo Ponds says. And he's really good interacting with his audience on his show. Laura Bartell Payne, no relation to me, Chance Bartels. Her I guess it's her maiden name is her maiden name is Bartell. She said Summer of 42. That's an interesting pick, and that was not on my list, but I wrote it down just now for you. Vicky Walden, she chose Summer Place, Susan Slade, and any Troy Donahue movie. LOL, she says. Indeed. Troy Donahue was wildly popular with the young ladies in the mid-1960s. And he did so many of those movies. And he worked well with, Sandra Dee. And he was a really good-looking guy. And unfortunately, his demons were his undoing later in his life, unfortunately. But I'm going to look for some live comments in a minute. But while I do that, I want to mention the nostalgic throwback taste tip of the week. And I say of the week, I'm going to get back to doing a weekly show. I took over a month off because I was sick. I won't go over that again. I wasted a lot of time at the beginning of tonight's show explaining me getting COVID. But here's your nostalgic throwback tip. If you miss the flavor of assorted fruit certs which I do. And did you know that certs were discontinued thanks to the U.S. Congress back in 2018? Talk about that in a second. I won't be too long-winded about this, but I miss certs. All certs have been gone. Have you? A lot of people don't realize that. Remember, there was cinnamon variety, there was peppermint, and the assorted fruit variety of certs. I friggin' love certs. Two mints in one. I like the commercials. I like the candy. It was basically Lifesavers without the hole in the middle. But it had retsin in it. That was their secret ingredient, which was allegedly the problem. It's alleged that retsin contains hydrogenated cottonseed oil, which is not allowed as an ingredient in food sold in the USA by the Food and Drug Administration. Even though certs, when they were introduced in 1956, had retsin in it all the way through 2018 when they were discontinued. But my tip is, I want you to try a mint I just discovered. It's a Lifesavers mint called Orange Mints, and it's white with little specks. It kind of looks like the specks in the certs assorted fruit variety. Remember, they had little specks in it, and it tastes just like that. I mean, even though it says Orange Mints, and it's not to be confused with orange in the 5 flavors. I'm talking mints. Get those, and they're to be found at Walmart. Actually, I have the best mom in the world. She found them for me when I mentioned to her just in passing how I miss assorted fruit certs. So I got to give credit where credit's due. I sound like a mama's boy, and I kind of am, but I love my dad too. But she found them at Walmart. So I know they're available at Walmart. And of course, you can find anything on Amazon. So I'm sure they're out there in Amazon, like other nostalgic treats you can't find in the stores anymore. But about 10 years ago, I was finding these, the wild cherry Tic Tacs. Remember those? I love those. I remember in 79, they had a combo pack of like berry and cherry with like a little divider, a plastic divider down the center. Remember it like it was yesterday. I was 8 years old, and they don't make those anymore. Man, I just love those. But yeah, so that's my tip. The orange Lifesaver mints, not assorted fruit mint orange, but the orange mint Lifesavers taste just like the assorted fruit certs. Okay, enough about that. I know I'm repeating myself. Oh, and here's, for those watching, here's what the bag looks like. Here's an unopened bag of Lifesaver orange mints. They're darn good. Unless you're a diabetic, which I don't want to inspire anyone to get diabetes or pre-diabetes. Don't sue me. I'm just saying, if you're in health, in good health, check these out. Try them. They're good. Only 15 calories each. There you go. Another nostalgic treat, since it's summer as we're live, you could be listening in the wintertime after the fact, but Bomb Pops. I posted about those. They've been around for a long time, and they're smaller than they used to be. That's what she said. But I like the kind that the ice cream man would bring around the neighborhood. Remember that? The ice cream man? Of course you do. With the music and everything. See, I'm digressing to another story. I won't tell this story. I'll save it for a game show story about this guy in Press Your Luck. The Press Your Luck scandal. He was an ice cream truck driver. Actually, an unemployed ice cream truck driver that had memorized the pattern of the whammies, and he won over $100,000. And CBS deemed that as cheating, which it's not. He through his own intelligence saw a pattern and a weakness in their system, and so that's not cheating in my view. But the network said it was. But he still got the money. But what they did was they didn't air his episodes. But anyway, I don't know why that entered my mind. I do know why. It's because he was a ice cream truck driver. Let me see here. I had something for you. Well, I'll look it up. I didn't write it down in my notes. I talked about it in the Podblast Facebook group. The origin of the bomb pop. The year, I don't want to misspeak, but I'll get to it in a second. Item. On the music scene, Madonna's self-titled debut studio album, Madonna, was released over 40 years ago on Wednesday, July 27th, 1983. Borderline, I remember that video. I fell in love with Madonna when she hit the scene. I was like 12 years old, and this is before Like a Virgin and all that, but I just loved that album. And I know a lot of you are like, man, like they're into like serious rock music, or like, you sissy, you wussy. But I did just because, that's when I was, starting to notice how cool girls are. And she just was so cute and perky and sexy and everything. I liked her little pop songs. I even saw her in concert in '85. Oh, so embarrassing. Shouldn't admit this, but I went to the Like a Virgin tour. I did. I admit it. Oh, it's time to talk about our friends at Remind Magazine. And then I'll try to look up, but I got to speak here. I'm going to try to play a clip, and I want to talk about briefly just a paragraph about the Bomb Pop, the origin of the Bomb Pop, which is a great ice cream. But if you look at the ingredients, they use that like corn syrup, which sucks. I wish things would be made with sugar, which is bad for you, but at least it's all natural, right? Sugar cane. I was delighted when I got the latest edition of Remind Magazine in my mailbox just yesterday. And I was delighted because it had Christopher Reeve on the cover, who passed away many years ago, sadly, almost 20 years ago. But there's a vintage photo of him in better times. And I want to show it on camera real quick and talk about a great offer they have going. Ah, geez. Later I'm going to talk about Dell Comics, Gold Key Comics, and Dell Comics, the comic book publishers that had television show and movie adaptations. Gold Key Comics started in 1962. We'll talk about that in a second, but let me just look at my monitor now. See if this is on camera properly framed. Remind Magazine has done it again. They have a great issue out now about collectibles, high dollar collectibles that have sold for big money. Hang on a second, folks. And there were some records. They talk about comic books as well as the Superman Christopher Reeve costume that sold big at auction not too long ago. Let me get that on camera. It's just such a pretty cover. I like the colors they chose. It's great design. Oh, crud. Well, that'll have to do because for my listeners, I'm letting you down, and this is just really bad audio as I struggle to get this on camera. Well, the best I can do right now. Hang on a second. Oh, let me get a clip. I'm going to play a clip while I struggle to get this on camera. I got to do this properly. I never played the old Golden Pond trailer. Let's play that.
Universal Pictures proudly presents a very special motion picture. Katharine Hepburn, Henry Fonda, Jane Fonda, on Golden Pond.
Listen, this Norman Thayer Jr. over on Golden Pond.
Oh, Norman, it's so beautiful. Everything's just waking up.
Ethel Thayer. Sounds like I'm lisping, doesn't it?
My, oh my, you have on a tie.
Yes, I know. I put it there.
You look sexy. I hear you turned 80 today.
Is that what you heard?
Man, that's really old.
You should meet my father.
Hey, oh, Mommy, darling. It means so much to him to have you here.
Look at this little fat girl, Ethel.
Sure, now he's got someone he can pick on.
Bill Ray. Bill Ray?
Yes, sir.
The dentist?
Yes, sir.
Want to see my teeth?
Oh.
We like to sleep together in the same room, same bed. You know, if it's not offensive to you.
Said they wanted to sleep together.
You and I did, didn't we?
Oh, I guess I'd be delighted to have you abuse my daughter under my own roof. Would you like the room where I first violated her mother?
What I'd like to know is why you enjoy playing games. You seem to like beating people.
But, darling, you're wrong about your dad. He does care. He cares deeply.
I'm afraid of him.
Well, he's afraid of you. So you should get along fine.
No, he won't. And you know why? Because he doesn't care. He is a selfish son of a...
I know I'm just being dumped here. Turkeys don't want me.
Bull. This is a trout. What do you do out there in California?
Cruise chicks.
What do you do with them when you have them?
Suck face.
Good God!
Hey, man, you don't have to yell at me.
He wasn't yelling at you. He was yelling at life.
What the heck does that mean?
Oh, that means he's like an old lion. He has to remind himself that he can still roar.
Scared me half to death. Billy! Billy! That's why I came running back here to you. See your pretty face.
Listen to me, mister. You're my knight in shining armor. Don't you forget it.
It seems that you and me have been mad at each other for so long.
I didn't know we were mad. I thought we just didn't like each other.
I want to be your friend.
Want to dance? Or would you rather just suck face?
Katharine Hepburn, Henry Fonda, Jane Fonda. Lord Great presents a Mark Rydell film on Golden Pond from Universal Pictures.
Man, I'm sorry I didn't play that when I was talking about On Golden Pond. That was my last choice in this installment of the Nostalgic Podblast, talking about movies set during the summertime. I'll just quickly, and I said this before, it was released on December 4th, 81 by Universal, and it made $119.3 million for the cost of $15 million to make. There you go. And the acting was just so good, just had a lot of heart. So let's get back on track. We went beyond that topic and talk about Remind Magazine. If you're watching on camera, or if you're listening at Fistful of Radio or Apple or Google Podcast or podcast.co or TuneIn, wherever you can find us, I direct you to our YouTube channel. If you want to see what's going on, I'm going to feature some collectibles in a moment as I play music for the listeners. And just Google The Nostalgic Podblast YouTube. That's all you have to do. Or Google The Nostalgic Podblast and you'll see the YouTube channel towards the top. Click that and then you'll see videos, and it should be one of the first ones at the top, depending on when you're listening to this, and it'll say Movie Set in the Summertime Part 1. That'll be in the title of the video. But on camera now for the viewers is the latest edition of Remind Magazine, which was in my mailbox yesterday, and it just made me so happy to see Christopher Reeve on a magazine cover again. And I got to tell you about a wonderful offer that they have right now. If you're listening to the show or watching the show, the Nostalgic Podblast, odds are you like nostalgia. Well, this monthly magazine, which has been around for over a decade, is awesome. In case you hadn't heard of it, it's called Remind Magazine, which is just loaded with interesting articles, games, full-color photos, interviews with your favorite stars, creators, and personalities, and lots more. Remind Magazine offers fresh takes on popular entertainment from days gone by. Each issue of Remind Magazine has dozens of brain-teasing puzzles, trivia quizzes, classic comic books or comic strips, and monthly themed features from the 1950s through the 1990s. And the best part is, it comes to you in the mail each and every month, just like the good old days when you'd wait for your favorite magazine to arrive in the mail, like Dynamite Magazine, National Geographic World Magazine, Sports Illustrated, Boys Life, you get the point. Well, Remind Magazine is not written for kids like those classic magazines were. Remind is written for adults while gently tapping your inner child. And it's family friendly, so your entire family will love it. And right now, there's a limited time offer where you can receive Remind Magazine for just $1 per issue or $12 for an entire year. I don't know what you can buy for $1 anymore. Actually, even the dollar stores are raising their prices and changing the very names of their stores with this record inflation that we're dealing with now in 2023 and beyond that we hope will be rectified soon. The regular introductory subscription price is $2 per issue or $24 for the entire year, which in itself is very reasonable. But $1 per year, $1 per month is an extremely hot deal. $12 for the entire year, that's actually about the same as a monthly rate for a online streaming service. But this offer will expire soon. So here's how you can subscribe or give as a birthday gift for someone you care about. Just go to remindmagazine.com. That's remindmagazine.com. Or call their toll-free number, 855-773-6463. That's 855-773-6463. And you can order over the phone or online with a Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover card on their secure order page. And an order specialist will assist you in processing your Remind Magazine subscription. And please mention the Nostalgic Podblast when you order. Thank you. Now back to the Nostalgic Podblast program, and it's time for my fake rant of the week. A minor pet peeve of mine, this relates to pretty much all the publishing world, magazines, comic books, but specifically comic books. And this pet peeve is when an article or a documentary does not point out that the cover date of a vintage comic book was 3 months ahead of actual time, or the street date of the comic book. And case in point, the sales success of the Fantastic Four issue number 1. Let me get a comic book on camera. This is a big deal. Now, it is to me because I'm a historian and I want everything. When I'm learning or talking about something, I want it to be accurate, historically accurate. Let me see if this is in frame. I'm a little rusty because I haven't done a show in 5 weeks, and I know I sound awful. My voice sounds awful, and I'm just making all sorts of mistakes. But yeah, all right. So there's actually a Bronze Age comic book. The Silver Age ended in 1969, from about 1956 to 1969, and so that is a comic book from 1972. But to my rant, if you notice, the cover date is not the actual date. And it does matter. I'm going to prove my argument right now with you. Fantastic Four issue number 1 was a game changer in terms of the creation of the Marvel Comics universe. In 1961, Marvel Comics were primarily publishing monster, mystery, western, romance, and war comics. Had the Fantastic Four issue number 1 not sold well, we likely would not have gotten Spider-Man, the Hulk, Iron Man, the X-Men, Ant-Man being continued into future stories, and the like. Thor wouldn't have been adapted by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby for a comic book audience, the Norse god of thunder. Now, why was that comic book Fantastic Four number 1 such a hit with young people? Well, good timing is a big reason why some things catch on with the public. This really bothered me. On ABC TV, they had a special celebrating the life of Stan Lee, which aired about a month, 6 weeks after he died, a month to 6 weeks after he passed away. And they cited in that television special on a major network that Fantastic Four issue number 1 hit North American newsstands in November 1961. Actually, Fantastic Four issue 1 was released on Tuesday, August 8th, 1961. Now, why does this fact about the real date of the book, why does it matter? Well, as I said earlier, we're talking about summertime here. After the 4th of July, the dog days of summer set in. And in August of 61, all the young readers were still on summer vacation from school, and many of them were bored. And Fantastic Four issue 1 offered very original, well-written, and illustrated entertainment. Hence, that's a major factor as to why that comic book was such a hit with young people. Details matter. And it just really bothered me how in that special, they're talking about how in November 1961, this is what was going on in America. And they're showing pictures and images from November 61. I'm like, no, it was early August 1961. That's a whole quarter, a fiscal and calendar quarter difference in time of what they're reporting. And it's not just them. I mean, they're going by research that's online. I'll give you a research resource that actually has the dates right, if you're into researching pop culture history like I am. But the reason, by the way, that the cover date of a Marvel Silver or Bronze Age comic book is 3 months ahead of actual time and the calendar date versus the street date was for circulation purposes. When the person stocking the newsstand saw that date on the cover, they were trained to know that that was the expiration date of that comic book and that it was time to remove it for sale from the comic book rack or the newsstand. And it just bothered me when it's not just that one special I'm citing, the Stan Lee Memorial Special, but tons of documentaries get the dates wrong. When the first appearance of Spider-Man hit the public in Amazing Fantasy 15, they have the date wrong. The Incredible Hulk was released in February 1962, not May. I don't know. It just bothers me. Maybe I'm being a little bit too obsessive about it or anal retentive about it, but I want to be historically accurate in everything I do, especially in the Nostalgic Podblast. So I'm going to be the one to set the record straight. So the resource I just talked about that I often turn to learn when a comic book was first made available to the public to buy is Marvel Fandom. There's a whole Wikipedia page. They call it Marvel Fandom Marvel.com. And all you do is, or the easiest thing to do is just Google search Marvel fandom, and then the issue number, like for instance, Fantastic Four issue 17. Google Fantastic Four issue 17, marvelfandom.com, and then you'll see the actual link to that book, and it'll have the cover date and it'll have the actual street date. So that's one of my little secrets to this program. When I've done the history of the Silver Surfer, for instance, the history of Ant-Man, I research that site to have the dates correct. And especially in the big premiere issue Podblast of 1968, where they had all these premieres like Iron Man issue number 1, Captain America issue 100, The Incredible Hulk issue 102. I won't reiterate, I won't rehash. I wanted to research that I had the dates, and I used that website as a reference. Marvelfandom.com. It's like a Wikipedia for the history of Marvel comic books. And it really does matter, the detail as to when something was released, because there's often lucky timing. And when you're historically analyzing why certain comic books, movies, record albums, and foods were popular with the public, it's good to know the true historical context. So it's not a big deal. That's why this is my fake rant of the week. But it does matter to me. And it should matter to most people that want to get the history right. I'm not saying the history is being rewritten in this instance. It's certainly not. It's just, it's a clear, obvious mistake. And then some people look for a comic book that was out on their birthday. I had people turn to me over the years many times. Do you have this issue of Thor? I want to, do you have an extra copy you could sell me or whatever? And they would have it's August 1978. And I'd say, yeah, I have a double of that one, but are you aware that's 3 months ahead of time? And they're not. I'm like, here, and I'll look it up for them. Like, this is the actual comic that was out on your birthday. So, and same thing with Life magazine. A lot of people get the Life magazine that was out on their birthday, and they're off by 3 months because magazines, Playboy magazine, Life magazine, Time magazine, for the longest time, for decades, it would always be 3 months ahead of time for the same reason the comic books were. It was an expiration date. And that's why you saw in comic book racks, you'd have 2 copies of, say, Marvel Tales or The Amazing Spider-Man, for instance. You'd have 2 copies, sometimes 3, of the past 3 months. And I'd wonder, I'm like, wow, why haven't they replaced that? Because magazines would usually get ditched, like Mad Magazine. The old issue would be gone. You'd see like a super special and then the regular issue of Mad Magazine. You wouldn't see like the previous month, but comic books were different. I don't know why that is. It's not that way anymore. Heck, comic book racks are a thing of the past. Now it's all direct sales or subscription. Comic book shops, you have titles that the owner of the comic shop will place in your box and you pick it up once a week. Anyway, I'm digressing all over the place. I know a lot of people out there don't give a flip about comic books, so let me talk about something else that you might be interested in now. Another minor rant I have is more of an observation of a blooper more than anything else, and it pertains to Marvel. If you're watching Marvel's Secret Invasion, note in the second episode, this is not a spoiler, so don't tune out if you haven't seen it yet, but in the second episode of Marvel's Secret Invasion, which I'm enjoying immensely, I think it's very well done. So this is a minor thing in jest. I'm not slamming the show because I really enjoy it. But there's a scene in the second episode where Nick Fury, played obviously by Samuel L. Jackson, who's also an executive producer of Marvel's Secret Invasion, he's in Europe leaving Russia by train after a terrible attack. I won't say the T word, but a T attack, think 9/11, where a lot of people died. And so everyone's on high alert, and they escape by train. And Nick Fury is told by his shape-shifting, friendly space alien Skrull buddy to blend in and take it easy, because he's told Nick Fury that he sort of stands out in that part of the world, I guess meaning because he's of color. So in pretty much the same scene, after they enter their train compartment or train car, Nick Fury starts shouting and yelling in a heated argument. And that's not being inconspicuous. He's literally shouting like it's Pulp Fiction in his furious anger speech scene. I mean, to that level of volume. Have you ever been on a passenger train? Well, the walls of the compartments are super thin and noise travels on a train. I just found it amusing because he was just told, okay, blend in, because you stand out. We don't want you to stand out. And you can't change your form like I can, and then he's just shouting. I thought it was like a minor little continuity blooper. Did something fall in the background? Okay. Item. Old-fashioned expression of the week time. Here it is. I've never talked about this. This is new. Here's the old-fashioned expression of the week. Put on your thinking cap. All I have is a dunce cap. As evidence tonight, I'm making a lot of mistakes tonight. Chance Bartels, your host of the Nostalgic Podblast, your friendly host. But here is a little bit about the origin of the expression, put on your thinking cap. The term thinking cap denotes an imaginary cap humorously, I don't think it's so humorous, but humorously said to be worn in order to facilitate thinking. The earliest instance that I have found is from the Western Carolinian of Salisbury, North Carolina, from October 16th, 1821. We advise the editor to put his thinking cap on before he hazards another such assertion. The term thinking cap also appeared in, this is a title, To Peter Pensive, like to be pensive in thought. To the name Peter Pensive, published in the Enniskillen Chronicle in November 18th, 1824. Let's see the quote here in that publication where they use thinking cap. I tell thee, my friend, I am as jealous of the morals and manners of the young as thou, but they can only be led by subjects which they take their fancies. Everything must have a beginning. Fools should not judge, have done work. Children must creep before they can walk. A word to the wise is sufficient. And if thou art not wise enough to take a hint from these proverbs, thou mayest put on thy thinking cap again to guess at my intentions. Unquote. The earlier term was considering cap. Its first known user was the English actor and comic writer named Robert Armin. Robert A, last name spelled A-R-M-I-N. 1563 to 1615 A.D. in Fool Upon Fool. F-O-O-L-E. That's how fool is spelled. Upon Fool. Or Six Sorties and Sorties from 1605. Okay, I don't even know how to pronounce that, but the title of that book is, it's spelled S-I-X-E, like the number 6 with an E at the end. S-O-R-T-E-S of S-O-T-T-E-S from 1605. Okay, next subject. Item. I want to get in a break as I show you some items from my collection. I'm going to talk when we come back about Gold Key Comic Books, which is a publication company that started in 1962. I thought they were older than that. I want to show you some Gold Key comic book covers of various television programs. And I just got these actually today, The Governor and JJ, which was a show that lasted a season and a half, and it was on CBS, and I don't think it was very good. I mean, maybe at the time it was funny, but I like the actress, the redhead, the pretty and funny redhead who went on to do Matlock, and she was in some Quinn Martin projects before The Governor and JJ, which began in 1969 through December 1970. Anyway, I just thought it was such a strange show to get a comic book adaptation for children. I mean, it was an adult sitcom. It wasn't like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. or Star Trek or The Land of the Giants or Lost in Space. I mean, it wasn't a kid's show. It's almost like Gold Key Comics just threw something at the wall to see if it would stick with the public. And The Governor and JJ sitcom comic book series only lasted 3 issues. So I ordered them. They're only like $3 each. I ordered them from a great comic book company. I want to give them a plug because their service was so excellent. I'll show them on camera in a second. But for the listener, I just want to give a plug. Now, I know most of my listeners at Fistful don't collect comic books, but mycomicshop.com, that's mycomicshop.com, did a great job. I just chose like the basic mode of shipping, the cheapest, the least expensive. I should say, I hate the word cheap because I am cheap. The least expensive mode of shipment, and yet it got here. I ordered those on Tuesday night, like after 6 p.m., and they got here on Friday. That's pretty darn good. And they're in Texas, but they have reasonable prices. And they're on eBay as well, but you'll save more money if you order directly from their website. They're really good. So, I'm good. And then we're going to talk about some folks that passed away, just a few. And then we're going to start winding down the show, but it has some other nostalgic goodies for you and some clips. And I want to thank you for bearing with me as I've been all over the place tonight and today, depending on when you're listening, with these topics. I'm just trying to get back to doing a regular program after being sick with COVID. It was horrible, just horrible. So let me get a clip here. Let's see, what do we want to play? I've played this before. This is the Tube, She's a Beauty. I just love this song. And I'll show some stuff for the viewers. Damn, everything fell. If you're watching on camera in the background. Well, I had a little catastrophe in the background, but nothing major. My comic books fell to the ground. Ha ha ha. I want to mention that that Gold Key Comic Company, I already said this twice now, but they were originally an imprint of an American company called Western Publishing, created for comic books, distributed in newsstands. They were also known as Whitman Comics. Gold Key operated this way from 1962 until 1984. Currently, Gold Key Comics is owned by Gold Key Entertainment, LLC, which consists of business partners and comic book enthusiasts. Gold Key Comics were created in 1962 when its parent, Western Publishing Company, switched to in-house publishing rather than packaging content for branding and distribution by its business partner, Dell Comics. And Dell also published a lot of movie and television shows in comic book form that they adapted. Hoping to make their comics more like traditional children's books, they initially eliminated panel-lined borders using just the panel with its ink and artwork evenly edged, but not bordered by a container line. Okay. And that's all I got to say about that, about Gold Key. I just want to give some basic historical information. So Gold Key, like I said, ended in 1984. There you go. And I showed on camera Star Trek. That's actually one of the copies I showed was from Barry King of BK on the Air. He sold me Star Trek issue 1 from the 60s. And I showed you Space Family Robinson, which was what Lost in Space was based on. And then down the line, they changed it to Space Family Robinson Lost in Space after the TV show premiered on CBS and was tremendously successful. Dell published an Outer Limits comic book that's in the background. I didn't show it up close on camera, but I've showed it before. And then other companies like, well, there's a Room 222 Dell. I showed you on camera, The Invaders. There were 4 issues of The Invaders based on the Quinn Martin television show. And that Governor and JJ, I've showed you the 3 covers of that book based on that sitcom, The Governor and JJ. I want to have Julie Summers autograph a copy of one of those. I'm going to mail that to her. Hopefully she'll sign it. And of course I'll include postage and a little something for an autograph. That's what I'm hoping to do, is get an autograph from her and maybe an interview. I do have, by the way, some really good interviews lined up on the Nostalgic Podblast that got sidetracked when I got sick, of some people that, I can't announce just yet, but I do have some more interviews. This is more of an informational show. I try to play clips and try to make it interesting and talk about things that others aren't really talking about, as well as have an occasional guest like a Kenneth Johnson or a Heather Thomas or a Doug Barr or an artist like the great James Tim Walker. We featured his book on the show. We've had Carol M. Ford and Linda Groundwater talking about their book about Bob Crane, who sadly, well, we don't want to bring down the show. You know the story about Bob Crane. It's never been solved what happened to him, and it's not right. And hopefully there'll be a resolution to that one day before we're all dead. To be morbid. Let's see, what else do I have for you here as we wind down the show? Oh, we got to talk about, some unforgettable talents that passed away of late. You know about Tony Bennett. I know a lot of people more talented than I have talked about that while I was on hiatus, so that was a while ago, but that was a big, big loss. Oh my gosh. Hang on, let me play some music to accompany. It's just a few people that passed away that were really notable, like the great Tony Bennett. Oh, man. He was awesome. I just loved that crooner. Let me get my headphones on, folks. Oh, God. Can't tell if my music's playing or not. It would help if I had my headphones on. Come on, you. God bless America. I'm just, all over the place. Trying to play the Joe Harnell Lonely Man theme. There we go. From the television show The Incredible Hulk from the late 70s and early 80s. This is serious. That's not the right version, but I'll just roll with it. Another mistake. This is just a comedy of errors. Comic books falling in the background on camera. Good grief. But I'm not going to beat myself up about it. Why would you want to listen to someone that's saying they suck? You wouldn't. This is not appropriate music for what I've got to say. But let's remember these fallen folks. And this is a bit of breaking news as we're live. Inga Swenson, one of the co-stars of Benson and a Broadway star, passed away at the age of 90. The actress earned 3 Emmy nominations and 1 Golden Globe nod, so she was nominated a Golden Globe for her famous portrayal of Gretchen Krauss in Benson, which is a spinoff of Soap, starring Robert Guillaume as Benson. And she was in an episode of Barnaby Jones playing a crazy woman, a harmless crazy woman, but a woman who was really mixed up. And that's a really good show that holds up to this day, except they're using payphones. There's certain elements that are not current in terms of technology, computers, cell phones. But other than that, the writing holds up. And there was a lot of terrible violence in that show they got away with in Barnaby Jones. But rest in peace to Inga. And that was a phony accent she did. That's just good acting. Her German accent on Benson, that was all acting. So rest in peace. Randy Meisner, the co-founding Eagles member, passed away at the age of 77. I loved his work on the bass guitar in this song I'm going to play. God, I hope I can get away with playing this. I'm going to turn this music off because it's not what I wanted to play. I like to play the Joe Harnell Lonely Man theme, the piano, the sad music that's appropriate. Jeez. Let me get... Yeah, here we go. This is from 1977, a version of a 1975 song. Listen. is. Oh man. Where was I also want to mention a great book. I'm hoping she'll be on the show soon. She's unofficially confirmed. There's a new book out by Shelley Herman, and it's called My Peacock Tale, Secrets of an NBC Page. She worked as a page for years. Great stories about Johnny Carson, and she's very personable. She's a great communicator. She was on James Enstall's show last Sunday. You could find on YouTube. Check her out. She is awesome to listen to, and she has incredible stories of her days working at NBC in Burbank, California. And her book is incredible. I'm in the process of reading it right now. And she was on live with James Enstall, Geek to Me Radio on KTRS St. Louis. And if you just look up Geek to Me Radio YouTube, search that, and you can find it. Trust me, it's worth your time. The interview is probably maybe 20 minutes tops. And it was fascinating what she shares about her experiences. And I cannot wait to finish reading that book. And looking forward to interviewing her. And I have some other guests that I can't announce that I've booked that are really going to be exciting for both you and I. So let's see. Rest in peace, Sinead O'Connor. My God. Now, she ticked a lot of people off with some of her antics on Saturday Night Live. I won't go there. But I don't wish death on anyone, unless it's like Adolf Hitler or something who's been long dead, or, someone who's harming other people, or, a mass killer or something like that. But, I wasn't a fan of hers, but to be dead at 56 is a shame. But, these people that have talent, their artwork will live on forever. They're immortal in that regard. So those are the three I wanted to highlight. Actually, four if you count Tony Bennett. That's four people of late. I know that's in your rearview mirror, but I haven't done a show in so long. I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of those talented folks. I do want to go over some music history really quickly, just some liner notes. This is for July 29th, and I didn't prepare this very well. Oh, right. July 29th, 1963, Peter, Paul, and Mary's Blowin' in the Wind song was released. Boy, that was some good hippy-dippy music right there. Really peaceful stuff. On July 29th, 1966, Bob Dylan was seriously injured when he crashed his motorcycle near Woodstock, New York. Wow. 1978, July 29th, 1978, Kenny Loggins' Whenever I Call You Friend was released. That's a duet with Stevie Nicks. I love that song. Oh, man, that was on the very first Nostalgic Podblast I did with Al Hardy. The very first one, June 15th, 2019. I chose that song, and we played that song for what it's worth. But we're talking about the song here and Kenny Loggins, and not about my little show, but just a factoid for you there. That's one of my favorite songs, actually. It's very nostalgic. When I hear Whenever I Call You Friend, I think of riding the back of my parents' car going to soccer practice, when it was on the radio. That was a hit song, big song. What other nostalgic stuff do I have? Oh, man, Enter Sandman was released by Metallica, the hit single on July 29th, 1991. I love that song. And I used to love ECW wrestling in 1998. Sandman was a character wrestler in ECW, and that was his theme, of course. I guess he had the rights to play just the opening bars, the guitar. These days, couldn't do it. Metallica's very protective of their intellectual property, obviously, and they want the almighty dollar. Don't blame them. But I remember that was a great wrestling operation, ECW, because it was violent. It was very, very violent for television and comedic. I love the speeches. You remember how these wrestlers would give dramatic speeches, and probably still do. It's just the wrestlers today are a little sexier. I like just the grittier wrestler. I like the Mr. Wrestling number 2. I liked, I just love ECW would have blood, and they would have people hitting the people over the head with guitars, and there'd be powder in them. It'd be very dramatic, like it looked like a Three Stooges skit or something. I mean, you knew it wasn't real, and I just loved how dramatic it was, the antics. They had people getting supposedly their necks snapped, which you knew wasn't real. Oh, ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. I really went on a Podblast there, but I remember Enter Sandman's, the theme to Sandman. He had a big old cane he'd hold up, and they would guzzle beers and stuff and pound beers in their heads. Did all this crazy stuff you didn't see anywhere else. Man, circa 1998, 1999. I mean, that was fun stuff to watch. I wish I'd seen him in an arena. Extreme Championship Wrestling. In 1980, July 29th, 1980, David Bowie made his theatrical debut when he opened in the title role of the Elephant Man. I did not know that. I know the movie, of course. I'm not an animal, I am a man. Very serious, very sad movie. And that makeup, John Hurt, that was something else, wasn't it? Black and white, shot in black and white. Damn, that was a weird movie. And so was Mask with Cher, with that makeup. That was incredible makeup on par with the Elephant Man of Eric Stoltz's character as that malformed boy. That was awful. I mean, how effective it was and heart-wrenching. July 29th. Let's look at some birthdays on July 29th while we're live before I sign off here, because I didn't prepare this. Let's see if anyone that we care. Geddy Lee! Happy birthday to Geddy Lee, born July 29th. Damn, that is awesome. Ken Burns, who does some excellent documentaries, of course. He's a filmmaker. Geddy Lee, though, happy 71st birthday to Geddy Lee. Let me make sure. No, 70. He just turned 70. Geddy Lee of Rush. Damn, that's a milestone. Turned 70 back on July 29th, 2023. Happy birthday to you, sir. Will Wheaton, who was in Star Trek The Next Generation, let's see how old he is now. Has he hit the big 50 yet? Let me see. Will Wheaton. He was born on July 29th, 1972 as Richard William Wheaton III. He's been out there in the media of late. He reviews Star Trek Strange New Worlds on YouTube and the official CBS Paramount YouTube channel. He does nice interviews with the cast. So he's 51. Happy birthday to you. Let's see. I'm not going to mention Selena Gomez. That's not nostalgic. Nothing against her. Danny Glover has a birthday on July 29th, or had a birthday. David Spade. Man, I love David Spade. One of my summer movies on my list is Tommy Boy. I love the Chris Farley team up with David Spade. And, of course, Joe Dirt, his solo stuff. Hell, that was 20 years ago already, Joe Dirt. Over 20 years ago. Willem Dafoe, happy birthday to you, born July 29th. As best known to me and geeks like me, the geek will shall inherit the earth, so I'm not saying that in a negative way by any means or stretch of the imagination. He was an awesome Green Goblin 20-some years ago. Over 20 years ago. Wow, how time flies. And, of course, he came back in the latest Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man No Way Home. Good stuff. I love that movie. And I guess that's all I'm going to mention right now. There's a lot, but David Spade, what a talent, man. I think he's funny. And I've said this before, I loved on Saturday Night Live, he did that Hollywood Minute. Chaplin. More like Kraplin. And it just deadpan, like little schmuck humor like me, just probably has a Napoleon complex or something, his character, just trashing everything because of his own shortcomings or whatever. But let me look here at July 30th birthdays while I'm at it. That would be back on Sunday, July 30th, 2023. Happy birthday to Arnold Schwarzenegger, born on July 30th. Lawrence Fishburne, who was a terrible bad guy. He played Ike Turner in What's Love Got to Do With It way back in 1993 against Angela Bassett as Tina Turner. God rest Tina Turner's soul. Delta Burke. I'm so glad she's still married. It's not my life. What do I mean? All right. I just, let me dial that back a little bit. It makes me happy that she's still married to Gerald McRaney, who's also in the business to this day. And, of course, Delta Burke's best known for designing women. But she also did all sorts of stuff that I liked. Like, she was in the Fall Guy pilot. She was in the Fall Guy in season 2. By the way, those episodes are still on Amazon Prime at no additional charge. They were charging like $1.99 an episode, whether you're a Prime member or not. And now they've added season 2 recently of the 5 seasons of the Fall Guy. But she was in, what was the episode called? The Mighty Myron, where they used the orangutan from the Clint Eastwood Any Which Way You Can movies. Right Turn, Clyde. They used him in that show. And anyway, whatever. But she was in the pilot in a small role as a waitress. But I love Gerald McRaney. Her husband's acting. Of course, he was in JAG and all sorts of great projects. I won't go down the list. We'll talk about him on his real birthday. David Hasselhoff had a birthday on July 30th. Paul Anka Oh, man, what a great crooner he is. Paul Anka had a birthday on July 30th. Let's see here. He turned 82. He was born July 30th, 1941 in Ottawa, Canada. He's a proud Canadian, just like William Shatner. That's great. That's great. I love Paul Anka's music. He did a Fall Guy, too, in season 4. I sound like a redneck all of a sudden. A hillbilly. Nothing against that. I love the South. I live in the South. But Paul Anka was in a season 4 episode, Dirty Laundry. Great episode, actually. And it's not been released on DVD. It's not streaming yet. But I think once the movie comes out, hey, Ryan Gosling is the star of the new Fall Guy movie. And he's tearing it up in Barbie at the box office. I think it's Margot Robbie is probably the main draw, but I guess most of the audience members are female for Barbie, so they probably like him too from The Notebook. The Notebook's on my list too, by the way, of movies set during the summertime that are great. Memorable, pop culturally significant movies. Oh man, let me see. I'm going to go down my list of what I wrote down to prove to you that I did do prep work, but then I realized the show would just be too damn long if I talked about more than 11 movies that are notable, but I've saved some really heavy hitters for the future, but I'm going to just mention the ones I came up with. But let me look up some music history for July 30th. Where are you, my little friend? Let me get my list. I usually would prepare this, but I wanted to get this in for Tom's birthday. Let's see if there's anything from July 30th that's significant. Oh, July 30th, 1954, Elvis Presley, the King, made his professional debut in Memphis, Tennessee. It was his first concert to be advertised. Wow. On July 30th, 1942, Old Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra, recorded the last of 90 recordings with the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra, who were featured on the Jackie Gleason Show and some of the live Honeymooner skits, notably the New Year's Eve episodes, 1954 into 1955. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, I think that's enough. And how about, well, I haven't done birthdays yet. My God, I'll get to it later, but I'll just say Mick Jagger turning 80. That blows my mind because he's still out there rocking and rolling, and I love the Rolling Stones. Awesome, awesome stuff. Some of the other movies I have on my list here that I'd pulled of movies that were set in the summertime. I've already talked about a lot of these, so I won't repeat myself. I should have crossed that off the list, Little Darling, because I talked about A Summer Place, Long Hot Summer, Mystic Pizza. Some of these are better than others. Weekend at Bernie's. It was summertime, and the first one where they're propping up the body of the character played by Tony actor Terry Kaiser. Corvette Summer, Mark Hamill. That was the first movie he shot after his terrible accident from January 1977, where he was really facially scarred pretty badly when he wrecked his Corvette into a tree. That was horrible. I love his look in Star Wars. And my mom was a big fan of Star Wars. We saw it together several times, and I think she liked it better than I did almost, or at least the same. And she went out and bought the toys and hid some from me that are still carded to this day, some of the Kenner action figures and things. And she loved Mark Hamill, and she always said, he never looked the same. I said, I know. I mean, you know, nothing. He looked better in Return of the Jedi. He looked more like he did in Star Wars and Return of the Jedi than in Empire Strikes Back. Anyway, I digress. I have nothing against Mark Hamill, but it is a shame that he had that accident. But Corvette Summer is an interesting movie to say the least. Annie Potts is in it, who of course is in Young Sheldon now, and she was in Designing Women in the 80s, and she's in that movie with Mark Hamill. And so is Danny Bonaducci, who recently had successful brain surgery. God bless Danny Bonaducci, who's a bad ass, by the way. He was a black belt, multiple black belt. If you watch these Chips episodes called Karate and Karate Part 2, he plays a villain. And he beats the hell out of Ponch, and he didn't beat up Ponch. He beat up some good characters in that. He just was a badass. And anyway, whatever. Just look up those Chips episodes if you want on the internet or if they're streaming somewhere. Karate, that's a great episode. And Carrie Michaels is her name. She was in it, and it was right before she did Give Me a Break. She was the good-looking older sister, and she was in Saturday the 14th. She's in that Chips episode, Karate, and it's just really cool. It was one of the only episodes where one of the Chips officers draws a gun on Hell, I think it was on Danny Bonaducci's character. Yeah. Baritska, Officer Baritska, who was in season 1. He's like one of the, I think he was all the way, he might have left after season 5. I'm all over the place. It's the coffee, folks. Let me just shut up and stay on one topic. Lunch Wagon. Beaches was a good one. That's kind of a chick flick, but I like that movie with Mayim Bialik and Barbara Hershey and Bette Midler. I'm telling you, that's a good summer movie, and it's a sad movie. I always like that movie. I haven't seen it in years. Risky Business is a good summer movie. Now, here's the one I don't think necessarily is a summer movie. Grease. I saw it in my research on all these lists. No, it's not a summer movie. Now, it does show summer in the beginning where Danny Zuko meets Sandy in Australia when he's on vacation. And then at the end, at the very end, it's the last day of school, and they ride off into the sunset in the first day of summer. It's not a summer movie. It's set during the school year. Yeah, there's a song, Summer Nights. There's a lot of references to summer in that one flashback scene at the beginning, but I defy any of these authors. That's not a summer movie. Grease is not a summer movie. It's just not. It's not set in the summer. End of discussion. Just kidding, folks. Blue Crush is a good summer movie. The Natural, all those baseball movies, like even the comedy Major League, the serious inspirational Field of Dreams, Karate Kid's this movie set in the summertime. A League of Their Own baseball movie set in the summertime. Independence Day set in the summertime. Bull Durham set in the summertime. I think American Graffiti set in the summertime. The Graduate, Dustin Hoffman's breakthrough role set in the summertime with the wife, Catherine Ross is in that. Longtime wife of star of Lifeguard we talked about earlier. A Banquet Beer. Sam Elliott's woman. Catherine Ross is in that. Caddyshack, Ghostbusters, Friday the 13th, Tin Cup, the golf movies, or The Sandlot, another baseball movie about youngsters. That was a cute movie from 1993. Flamingo Kid talked about that. Outsiders, yeah. Breaking All the Rules, Hard Bodies, Where the Boys Are, those 80s teen like sex comedies, or those movies were set in the summertime on the beach. I say The Natural, I think I did. Thelma and Louise set in the summertime. Was Driving Miss Daisy set in the summertime? I have a question mark by that. I was going by memory and I thought it was, but I'm not sure. I Know What You Did Last Summer. What About Bob? The Before Sunrise, Before Midnight trilogy of movies. Those were great movies, if you don't know, that were shot over 20 years with Ethan Hawke. And he went on vacation in the summertime and met a girl, and he's courting her. And they did one like every 10 years. I think it was every 10. It might have been 30-year span. I need to look that up. But those movies were set in the summertime. Something's Gotta Give was set in the summertime. Point Break, did I say that? Say Anything was set in the summertime. Lunch Wagon. The Swimming Pool was set in the summertime. A movie I really liked, I saw on cable, If You Could See What I Hear, starring, I'm doing a lot of ums and ahs like an idiot. I haven't had a drink in months, folks, believe me, and I certainly don't do drugs. Mark Singer, he played a talented blind person in this great movie, If You Could See What I Hear, which I haven't seen in years and years. I think that was set in the summertime. Again, these are just memorable movies, so I think I went through what I had done in show prep. E.T., the Extraterrestrial, set in the summertime, right? If I'm wrong, let me know. What about The 7-Year Itch? What about Cool Hand Luke? What we have here is a failure to communicate. That was a chain gang movie. I think it was the summertime. I could be wrong on some of these. I was just making notes based on memory. Some Like It Hot, The Gender Bender with Lemon. Not Don Lemon. God, what's his name? From Grumpy Old Men. Jack Lemmon. That's him. Well, we'll talk about them. If I skip some, we'll get to them eventually. But those are the ones I came up with the help of friends like you. And I appreciate your assistance with that. So let's see, what other nostalgic stuff? I want to remind you, I've talked about this before, I won't go into it in great detail. Can you believe that vinyl sales records have outperformed compact discs in 2023 and 2022 for the first time since 1987? That just blows my mind. It's a fact. Look it up. I have read an article from BBC News. I won't read it again because this isn't a rerun, folks. This time for the nostalgic toy of the week. Hot on the heels of the success of Barbie and Ken, or the Barbie movie, it reminded me that in 1996 there was the Barbie and Ken time that they joined the 1960 Star Trek universe with a Star Trek 30th anniversary Barbie and Ken doll. And that was to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the original Star Trek, which debuted in 1966. This toy came out in 1996, and it was so cute because Barbie is wearing the red miniskirt that Uhura wore and other characters. Uhura. Let me say that clearly. It sounded like I said something nasty. Uhura, which means freedom in Swahili. In terms of the character, she wore that red miniskirt. Well, Barbie's wearing that, and she looks super cute. I just couldn't bring myself to purchase a Barbie doll, so I don't own one. I may go back and get one just because I like it. Shows William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy as Kirk and Spock in a photo from an episode. I think it's from A Taste of Armageddon from season 1. I'll leave it there. That's some inside baseball for some serious Trekkers or Trekkies. You'll know what I'm talking about. But I think the picture was from that episode. Could be wrong. And on the back, it shows a cute picture of Barbie and Ken with the tricorder. And it came with like a phaser, a tricorder, like toy prop for their hands. It was cool. And of course, Ken wore the gold top, like command. That, anyway, they're all color coded. You know, like red was security for the most part. Blue was science. Enough about that. That's my nostalgic toy of the week. I'm going to skip the TV cliche of the week. I'm getting punchy, folks. Time for the compliment of the week. I want to say that MeTV's original show, Tune In With Me, which airs Monday through Friday from 7 to 8 a.m., is killing it. It's so good and nostalgic, and I love the factoids they throw in there. They actually showed a 16-millimeter working projector, just in a cool little graphic showing Toonie is a tuna. It's a hand puppet of a tuna fish. They call them Toonie, and they show classic cartoons like the Paramount Popeye cartoons, the Warner Brothers cartoons, the MGM Tom and Jerry and Droopy cartoons, of course the Warner Brothers, Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny, you know, all the characters. They play classic cartoons like that and others. And they have like a wraparound comedy bit and informational bit where they show on location around Chicago where the show is taped at the MeTV studios. And it's just really well done. I really enjoy it. And I DVR it every morning to watch at night as I'm getting ready for sleep. And I watch Beverly Hillbillies still. They're in season 5 now with the second color season as we're live of Beverly Hillbillies, which I've never seen. I'm watching these for the first time. They're hilarious episodes with a gorilla, a guy dressed as a gorilla. And they accidentally get a real gorilla from the zoo. And there's a funny bit with an obvious dummy where the gorilla throws Granny through the front door of their mansion. And you can tell it's a dummy and a stunt person on the other end, but it's a funny scene. I actually laughed out loud. It takes a lot in an old show like that in the 60s to make me laugh out loud, but I cracked up. It was really funny when that gorilla throws her and she thinks you just have to see it. And you probably have seen it. It's something from over 50 years ago, 56 years ago, 57 years ago, and I'm laughing like it's new. But so I'm enjoying watching those on MeTV at 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, the Beverly Hillbillies in prime time. Okay, here's another fake rant of the week. I'll be quick. It's a very brief one. It was recently announced that a soundtrack compact disc, yes, there's still compact disc being made, will be released by La La Land Records of the ABC reboot of Mission Impossible, which ran back in the late 80s to the early 90s on ABC, specifically from October 23rd, 1988 to February 24th, 1990. Well, actress Jane Badler, who played the main villain in V, she was the main enemy lizard, but a gorgeous woman, still is. She was a regular in Mission Impossible in most of the episodes. She didn't start in the very beginning. She replaced an actress who left the show. And it just ticked me off that on the cover of the compact disc, there's an ensemble cast photo, but Jane Badler is missing. Little things like this annoy me. It's like, why didn't you include, even if you had to like Photoshop her in, she was a major character on that show. But the compact disc, I'll still give them a plug at La La Land Records because the music is the thing, and they get that right. I love their collection of the soundtrack to Star Trek, the original series. It's a really nice collection that they produced. They did a terrific job with that, so I can forgive an error on the cover, but they should have Jane Badler in there. But by the way, my favorite version, I thought I pulled that clip for you. Oh, man, I'm making so many mistakes. Of Mission Impossible was from that show. I like it better than the Tom Cruise movies. I like it better than the original version by Lalo Schifrin. Let's listen. I've played it before on the Nostalgic Podblast, but it's only a minute and a half long. Let me play for you now the best version, in my opinion, of the Mission Impossible theme. And it's from the 1988 to 1990 revival. And they brought back Greg Morris for that, the African-American actor from the original Mission Impossible, and his son. His son was in the cast. So it was kind of cool how they brought it to another generation. Oh, why the hell won't you play? I don't stop saying that, Chance. I'm talking to myself like a psycho. Here it is. I'm going to start over because let me set this up properly. Again, this is the 1988 to 1990 opening theme to Mission Impossible, a reorchestration of the classic Lalo Schifrin theme. He's the composer that created the original Mission Impossible theme. Listen to this. This is, I think, the most rockin', best. It beats the movie version. I'm repeating myself, I know. Better than any version you can think of. This is the best. And I'm probably going to get that compact disc. Let's listen. Do you agree with me? Is that the best version of the Mission Impossible theme? I think it is. Oh my goodness. I know I've already talked about some notable birthdays, but I did pull just some factoids. There was a big milestone birthday that I must acknowledge. Norman Lear turned 101 years old. Jesus.
This is
That's incredible. We'll get to it in a second. Here's the Jeopardy update.
Jeopardy!
It's very brief. You know I'm a Jeopardy fan, so I got to do the update. It's a very important update. Wait. This is the classic Jeopardy late 80s, early 90s version. My favorite version of the Jeopardy theme. I call it the hyperactive theme because of that. The update is Jeopardy's in summer reruns. That's it. I just want to have an excuse to play the hyperactive Jeopardy theme. It matches my personality. Hyperactive. Oh yeah, man. Here we go. That's right. Here we go, folks. Notable pop culturally significant birthdays for July included, as I said, Norman Lear. He turned 101. And he also, did you know, he fought in World War II against the Axis powers. And he's still going strong. He looks great. I love him in his hat and all that entertainment that he brought to us in the 1970s after he returned from bravely fighting in World War II. I just think he's great, and I had posted a little photo of him and his wife, and God, so many jerks out there, not on my page, but on pages that I'm affiliated with that I share things at, where just saying some mean things about plastic surgery. I won't even repeat them because it was a minority. It was a small amount of people, maybe not even 1% of the nice comments that acknowledged the 101st birthday. How cool is that? that he still has his mental facilities. He's still turning out new entertainment with Jimmy Kimmel, like the revivals of the Jeffersons they do once a year or so, the specials, bringing back All in the Family and the Facts of Life even, and just all these properties. And Norman Lear is one of the executive producers. So I salute him for being a pioneer in television, creating those great shows, All in the Family, and its many, many spinoffs, starting with Maude, and then Good Times spun off from Maude, because Florida was Maude's maid in the beginning, and Sanford and Son. I could go down the line, One Day at a Time. They're all great. So I hope you keep going strong, my man. Go for 120, and I hope the same for Mick Jagger as well. Another birthday, Bugs Bunny. He turned 83 back on July 27th. 2023, because July 27th is the date that Bugs debuted in the animated film titled A Wild Hare, as in rabbit, H-A-R-E, not H-A-I-R, hare, like a fast rabbit. And gorgeous actress Lydia Cornell, who was the blonde best known for Too Close for Comfort. She was born back on July 23rd, 1953 in El Paso, Texas. And she was born as Lydia Korniloff. Like a Russian name. I like that. So I want to wish her a happy, sexy 70th. She does not look like she's 70 years old. And that's no insult to those that are 70. She looks fantastic. And I hope to have her on the Podblast. She said she would, but then I got sick and she got busy. She verbally said she'd be on the show. So I need to get prepared for that. I need to have some photos of her I can show and some things. I need to dig things up that I have so I do it right. Happy 72nd birthday, 72, to Miss World USA 1972 pageant winner and star of Wonder Woman, Linda Carter. She's still as gorgeous as ever. She was born back on Tuesday, July 24th, 1951 in Phoenix, Arizona. Happy 59th birthday to Sandra Bullock, who was born on Sunday, July 26th, 1964 in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Arlington County, Virginia. And I first saw her in something she probably would rather forget. Maybe not. I can't read her mind. I can't speak for her. I don't know her. I never even met her, of course. But she was in the second Bionic reunion movie, which NBC aired on Sunday, April 30th, 1989, titled Bionic Showdown. And they actually made Sandra Bullock's character bionic, and it was going to be a potential new series that did not get picked up by NBC. But of course, Speed came along a few years after that, and the rest is history. I think she's a terrific talent. And I hope to get her autograph soon. I have a picture I put on the Nostalgic Podblast page of she and actor late, great Richard Anderson, who played Oscar Goldman, and Lindsay Wagner. And in 2005, Richard Anderson signed that picture for me. It's in black and white publicity, still promoting Bionic Showdown with all three of the actors in the shot. Lindsay Wagner signed it for me. Oh, by the way, Richard Anderson signed that for me in 2005. I don't think I mentioned it was in North Carolina at the Western Film Fair in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was there. I donated some films to screen, not to give, but I brought films with some of the actors that were there who were guests at the show, and I watched them with people like Ed Nelson, Richard Anderson. Ed Nelson was in a Bionic Woman episode titled Assault on the Princess, like a cruise ship princess, like it was a year before Love Boat hit. So it was a princess, that type of princess, meaning a boat. And Ed Nelson was in it, and he watched the whole thing with me. And then, another great actor, Henry Darrow. He was there, and he was in a Wonder Woman. I brought a print of a Wonder Woman he did with Roy Rogers, and he didn't remember doing it. He goes, I didn't drink a lot in those days. I don't remember that. And he was in an NBC movie, High Chaparral, for years, and other things. Henry Darrow was a great talent. Anyway, I digress, but Sandra Bullock is the only autograph I need. That'll be the most difficult one to get. Hopefully one day she will do the autograph show circuit, and I can have her finally be the missing piece to the trifecta of autographs of Lindsay Wagner, who signed it in Tampa, Florida in 2006 for me, and Richard Anderson, God rest his soul, in 2005, in July 2005. He signed that for me. So happy birthday to Sandra Bullock, who turned 59 back on July 26th, 2023. And I want to say happy heavenly birthday to the late, great Robin Williams. This talented and energetic soul was born on Saturday, July 21st, 1951 in Chicago, Illinois. And as everyone knows, Robin tragically took his own life with a belt. Depression. It's so deadly and so serious, and it's treatable. But look for the signs in someone that you care about. He was just, his work lives on, you know. I liked it all. He had a funny bit part in Shakes the Clown, a funny movie with Bobcat Goldthwait as an alcoholic clown. It was uncredited. Robin Williams played a mime. He was hilarious in that. He did big, and he was a roommate with Christopher Reeve at Juilliard, and he was a big help to Christopher Reeve, helping him get over his depression when he became a quadriplegic. So sad. He took his own life on Monday, August 11th, 2014, at the age of 63. And little factoid about Robin Williams, he was in 8 is Enough before Mork and Mindy, and they cut his scenes, but he still had a credit. And I always was looking for his scenes. You see like a shot of him as like a repairman or something in an episode of 8 is Enough, I think from season 2 of that program. When they finally released on DVD in 2012, that season 2, I was like, where's Robin Williams? I don't see him. That was an early role, but at least he got a paycheck back then. He probably could have used it back then. Sally Struthers is 76. Say that 5 times fast. Sally Struthers is 76. 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 Born on Monday, July 28th, 1947 in Portland, Oregon. And Sally is best known for begging for money for the Children's Christian Fund. No, I'm kidding. She's best known for portraying, of course, Gloria Bunker Stivic in the classic CBS sitcoms All in the Family, where she originated the role. Archie Bunker's Place, they brought her back for a Thanksgiving 1-hour episode along with Mike, the Meathead, played Rob Reiner, and then she also had her own show, Gloria, playing that role. But we know her, I know her from a couple commercials, of course, you know, Move Where the Phone Is! You know, we're the Christian Children's Fund, where she's, you know, showing a lot of, I mean, it's a series, but showing a lot of starving kids in Africa and whatnot. And then also, do you want to make more money? Sure, we all do. Online correspondence course, what was it, CSS or something? She did those ads too. Hey, you know, everyone's got to make a living. It sounds like I'm disparaging her for that. I'm not trying to anyway. I'm just being a little lighthearted, but I really am not taking the piss on her, as Brits say. I'm really not taking the piss on her for that. She's a talented lady. And she also acted in a television version of the hit movie I mentioned earlier, 9 to 5, when I talked about the Beverly Hillbillies movie reuniting Lily Tomlin and Dabney Coleman in the movie The Beverly Hillbillies. She played Miss Hathaway in the Beverly Hillbillies movie. Lily Tomlin did. But Sally Struthers was in the TV version. She played Marcia McMurray Shrimpton. Also in the TV syndicated revival from 1986 to 1988 of 9 to 5. And later, Sally Struthers acted in the sitcom The Gilmore Girls. So happy birthday to you. Let me see here. I already did that. Okay. I'm thinking out loud, folks. So happy birthday to all those folks, and let's get to a new feature. If you saw this already, you might not. This is a pretty bad joke that I wrote. You might have seen this in the Nostalgic Podblast Facebook group, but in case you didn't, if you're a listener that just stumbled upon this show, I'll just go ahead and tell you my little joke. It's an intentionally bad joke. I call it an uncle joke because I'm not a dad. Okay, you know who Bruce Wayne is? He's Batman, right? So here's my little joke. Where does Bruce Wayne go to the toilet? Let you think about that for a sec or two. Where does Bruce Wayne go to the toilet? Answer: in the bat room. Okay, I won't quit my day job. Oh, okay. Item. I have a little update for you. In a recent Nostalgic Podblast about the Patty Duke show and other things, but on YouTube you see a TV Guide cover from 1963 with Patty Duke on the cover. Well, my game show and Patty Duke people, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is that for the very first time, Buzzer aired the first of 5 rare NBC Password Plus episodes, which originally aired on NBC on May 5th through 8th, 1981, with Patty Anna Marie Duke reprising her role at that time as Patty and Kathy Lane, in character playing for charity in those episodes. So they played the very first one on back on Friday, July 21st, 2023 at 2:30 p.m., and then they replayed it at 1:30 a.m. And I thought, oh, great, and I did a post. They're going to air the other 4. Well, the bad news is that on Monday, July 24th, Buzzer reverted back to airing episodes of Password Plus that they previously aired, which they'd already converted to digital format from videotape. See, that's what's going on with Buzzer, and they've gotten a lot better at it. When they first launched in 2015, they didn't have that much content, which was silly. Fremantle Media owns the Buzzer Network, and they own the Goodson-Todman Library of Game Shows. So the silly thing is they didn't have very many converted. So even though they own the tapes, the machinery has broken down or they don't have it anymore. There is some that exists, certainly, that's in working condition that will play videotape. Hence, that's what they use to convert to digital format. But Buzzer needs to have a digitally converted copy to air on their network. So they've hired people to digitally convert these old videos to digital format. So what happens is they'll digitize maybe 30 episodes of a particular show on their schedule, and then they'll revert back showing ones that they played weeks, months ago until they can convert more, and then they air them again. So that's what they did with this Patty Duke. Unfortunately for me, I didn't realize that Friday was the end of the current cycle of what they call fresh to Buzzer episodes that have never aired on that network. However, those episodes did air back in 2008 on the Game Show Network, GSN, and I recorded them back on VHS, which I converted to DVD. I have a machine that will convert VHS to DVD. And I featured them, audio of those episodes, not all of them, but just some select clips I liked, on the Nostalgic Podblast episode about Patty Duke. And I said then, hey, those haven't aired on Buzzer. Well, they must have listened. I'm not to have hubris or be delusional, but shortly after that, like a couple weeks after I said that on the Podblast, they had National Game Show Day. And what happened was Buzzer had special programs where they had gone in and they probably told the digital converters, okay, we want this episode, that, and they played 3 of the 5 Patty Duke episodes in character as Patty and Kathy Lane. Big whoop. But and someone thankfully put them on YouTube. There's a huge channel, and this guy just, I don't know how he gets away with it. I guess Buzzer's okay with that. He just converts stuff from Buzzer and other game show sources with the ads intact and puts them on his channel. No problem. I guess it's cool with Buzzer. So anyway, just stay tuned. It looks like in the cycle, the next time they start re-airing fresh to Buzzer episodes of Password Plus, it'll be episode 2 of the Patty and Kathy Lane episodes, which has not aired yet on Buzzer. Now, 3, 4, and 5 did on National Game Show Day. Episode 1 did on July 21st, 2023. But as we're live, the second episode didn't. Anyway, if you watch it and you like game shows, I know it's not for everybody, and not everyone likes Patty Duke, but you'll dig it, I think. So there you go. That's my little update. So, because I'd said that Buzzers never aired them, and at that time they hadn't, but they have now. They've aired 4 of the 5 as we're live. All right. Let's see. I think we're about caught up. Yeah, I guess I'm going to sign off. This has not been my best show. I don't know why I'm saying that, because there's no need to accentuate mistakes. And when you feel like you've done a bad job, there's no sense in mentioning that. But I want to apologize for some of my mistakes tonight. I just think I'll get better as I get back into the swing of things. I'll be back probably next week, or at least in, sometime in August, very soon, like early August, and going to have a whole new topic, maybe a guest. But I want to promote, as we sign off here, some shows I've talked about earlier in the show, but in case you weren't tuned in then, I want to say to tune in to BK on the Air, Saturdays, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time on WBHF Radio, Cartersville, Georgia, which you can get on TuneIn. They don't do video. It's audio only, but after the fact, that show is converted into a podcast, and you can hear it with some retro commercials inserted over the radio ads. But you can go to their website and hear the show live from anywhere. That's what I do. I go to WBHF, their website, listen live. You just like anything, click listen live, and you can hear the stream. So they're on 10 a.m. to noon, Alan Sanders and Barry King. It's really Barry King's show, and Alan is his co-host. I also want to recommend Geek to Me Radio, which is live towards the end of the weekend for 1 full hour from St. Louis on KTRS, a huge radio station in that market. And he's also on YouTube, and he airs Sunday nights live, 7 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Central time, his local time, and 10 p.m. Eastern time Sunday nights. It's a 1-hour show. Also check out Thrash Pondo on YouTube, Sunday and Monday evenings, usually around 7:30. He does trivia contests, and he interacts very well with his audience. I want to recommend Open by Chance on YouTube, and they're toy, comic book, and nostalgia people, and they do a fantastic job with video and knowledge. It's a very educational show if you're into history of pop culture history. RetroZest. Check out the RetroZest podcast. Go to retrozest.com, click podcast, or click merchandise and look at the t-shirts they have for sale. And finally, I have two more. Pat McCormack, that's Golden Rage of TV on YouTube. He does an excellent job. He's had fantastic guests. He interviewed Loretta Swit, of course, TV's Hot Lips from MASH, the TV show. Great content there. He interviewed Ruta Lee, Kathy Garver, who was Sissy on Family Affair, among many other characters she's played, but she's well known for that. He does a great job. And he's an actor, too. He's won an Emmy Award for playing a role as a fictional band member on General Hospital. That's pretty cool. And he's got an on-screen presence. I have a smaller on-screen presence of movies and TV shows I worked on, Chance Bartels, but whatever. And I want to recommend the Superman homepage on YouTube. They have a live show every Monday night at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. If you're into Superman, not just Christopher Reeve Superman, all things Superman, the current projects, the current animated shows. They show comic book covers of the past. It's a very professional looking show, unlike mine, as is Open by Chance. And there's a huge channel, Dave Sundstrom on YouTube. He has a ton of subscribers, and he does excellent video. And Dave produced a great video piece about vintage Topps and Flair TV and movie bubblegum trading cards in a recent live video he did. I think it was called Retro Palooza 4, I think. And Barry King of BK and the Air came up with that idea of a topic, and it was a good one. And in kind, Dave Sundstrom, I think it's Dave, D-A-V-E, D-A-V-E, like Dave Letterman or Dave Thomas of Wendy's, and there's a Dave Thomas and SCTV fame as well. Dave Sundstrom, I think it's S-U-N-S-T-R-O-M. Just look up Dave Sundstrom on YouTube. I can't speak. And he has excellent content there. And that was a great topic. So there you go. So strike? What strike? There's tons of content and entertainment out there on YouTube. Nothing against strikers and the union. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, don't let a strike slow you down from being entertained. And remember, the geek shall inherit the earth, in case you haven't noticed what Elon Musk and Bill Gates are up to. Good or bad. I think one's good and one's bad, and I ain't going to say which, because we don't talk politics around here. I just don't want to do it. There's other people that do it better than I do. So, with further ado, I'll wish you a great rest of the week, and thanks for tuning in. I'll get back. I'll get better. This wasn't one of my better shows, I don't think. I think I really was all over the place. But it's good to be back, and after having that ordeal with COVID, and I wish each and every one of you all the best and a great week.